Amongst all the top 10 chess players, apparently, Black Mage wasn't the strongest. His wisdom was far inferior to Norn the god of wisdom, and his attack power was far inferior to Orfina the ruby dragon. However, he was the only 4-star points chess player who could withstand Orfina's attack. His style of playing Stargo was weird. No one knew what the layout of his chess pieces was and how he would launch his attack, because they didn't exist from the beginning. He was good at the layout of the middle chess pieces, dragging everything on the chessboard into the realm of chaos. Even Orfina was cheated by his tricks more than once. Black Mage believed that even Norn fell into his trap, he wouldn't have any chance to escape. Unfortunately, Norn never fell into his trap. Norn's style was too stable, and his computing power was strong. When coming to direct confrontation, he had no chance to win. However, Norn the god of wisdom was just an exception. Even if it was Duck Rome, once he failed to stop him, Black Mage would drag the entire layout of the chess pieces into chaos. Once he created confusion, muddying the waters, he had 1,000 methods to kill his enemy. The star map he made in the real world was called Sea of Chaos. There were thousands of small meteorites moving around in the sea. By observing the chaotic meteorites, he learned his own road of stars. He didn't think that he would fail this time. At the 60th rounds, his chess pieces had been indented with his opponent's chess pieces together, and this was the situation he wanted to see on the chessboard. Even if it was Norn the god of wisdom, he would have headaches facing this situation. Chaos was the truth of the world in his eyes. Paw. In the eyes of Black Mage, he had seen the trace of countless stars being destroyed. It was his KO, his invisible killing method. After putting down 7 more chess pieces, Black Mage's proud KO finally formed. It was a hexagram taking a black chess piece as the core. It was Black Mage's strongest attack, Black Death hexagram. The star map was covered with the air of death. The hexagram on the chessboard stood for the end of all things. Revive the undead. Behind Black Mage's cold cloak, a shadow with a black sickle and a white bone mask appeared, staring at a corner of the chessboard. The game is over. Once the Black Death hexagram appeared, even Black Mage himself couldn't stop it. A long abyss appeared and divided Cyber Elf Alpha's chess pieces into 2 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the face of Black Mage's strongest attack, Cyber Elf Alpha leisurely put down a chess piece. What? Black Mage was surprised. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hexagrams with different colors surrounded his black hexagram. Green hexagram stood for the power of wind. Yellow hexagram stood for the power of earth. Red hexagram stood for the power of fire. Blue hexagram stood for the power of sea. The 4 hexagrams surrounded his black hexagram. To be precise, the reason that the 4 hexagrams could form was because of his black hexagram. 4 elements, Elf phenomenon. Cyber Elf Alpha waved her hands. Black Mage's black hexagram was swallowed by her 4 hexagrams. Over 60% of his chess pieces turned into ashes too at the same time. Black Mage was defeated. When had she found my purpose? Before the 50th rounds, even he himself didn't know where his Black Death hexagram would form. This was the reason why it was called the Sea of Chaos, because even he himself didn't know what his next plan was. Most people would be defeated before opportunity appeared. Because he was good at catching the chance, he could reach 4 star points. He never expected that he would be defeated by his opponent by using his style. She predicted his moves and used his trap to set a big trap. How strong her computing power was. Her computing power was far stronger than him. Her star go strength was much better than his. Maybe even when the plan of setting the Black Death hexagram just appeared in his brains, his failure was already doomed. He had been defeated 30 rounds ago. How can it be true? How can your computing power be so strong? Black Mage looked at the chessboard in shock and disbelief. From 30 rounds ago, she had predicted this future. This meant that her computing power was hundreds of times stronger than his. As a legend-ranked mage who dominated 10 gods' domains, Black Mage's mental strength was far above the average, but now, Cyber Elf Alpha computing power was hundreds of times stronger than his. She herself was stronger than hundreds of legend-ranked beings. No, it's impossible. Even to Norn, the god of wisdom, it was impossible to reach this degree. There is something wrong. Even if you are a god, your computing power can't be so strong, not to mention a legend-ranked elf. What are you? Black Mage instinctively realized that there was a secret behind it. The nature of Stargo was a battle of computing power, which was also called deduction ability. If the gap between two chess players' computing powers was too wide, the result was already doomed. Most hero-ranked beings weren't entitled to enter the Starry Sky chessboard, because their computing powers were too weak. Unless the bloodline of the hero-ranked being was about computing power, it wasn't possible for them to find the suitable places to put down their chess players in the changing star map. Legend-ranked mental power was the basis to play Star Go. Only after reaching this level was it possible to play Star Go. Even so, a lot of legend-ranked beings couldn't even pass the entrance test, the 9 chess pieces Go. Why was Norn the strongest chess player? Apart from his stable style, his computing power was specially optimized by his godhood. This was his biggest advantage. Perhaps Orphina the Ruby Dragon's computing power was stronger than Norn's, however, the god of wisdom had optimized his computing power, which meant that he could release 120% of his true power, so he was the only 6-star points chess player. However, compared to Cyber Elf Alpha, their computing powers were just a joke. Even overlapped Orphina and Norn's competing powers together, their computing power was just 1% of the computing power Cyber Elf Alpha had shown. In the Western God's domain, the Mechanist God's domain, Alpha was still sitting in the God Crystal. The mental antennas on her forehead shook, requiring for higher computing power. The alchemists and engineers cheered. Launch the 11th and 12th planet quantum computer. Cooling. Cooling. Ensure the absolute advantage of Alpha's projection. We will earn every game. The Ruby Dragon and the God of Wisdom are just old-fashioned antiques. The future belongs to Cyber Elf Alpha. Haha, I guess these 3-star points and 4-star points chess players are going to collapse. Our Alpha just opened 12 planet computers. We just used 10% of our true power. Even the God of Wisdom is nothing in the face of our Alpha. Our Alpha has infinite computing power. Laughter burst from the alchemists and engineers. After thousands of years from obtaining the God Crystal, building all the supporting facilities, 10 generations of people had been born and passed away. Now, only several elf engineers were the original planners who designed Alpha. Today, the crystallization of countless people's wisdom finally blossomed and yielded fruit. Black Mage wasn't wrong. As the newborn cyber god, Alpha could increase her computing power by adding more and more additional computing elements. She was the only god who had the god ability, infinite computing power. Even Norn the god of wisdom couldn't defeat her when coming to computing power. All the elites in the Mechanist God's domain believed that Alpha would be the only victor of all the games of the Starry Sky chessboard from now on. This was the beginning of a brand new era. This was the first announcement of the rise of the Mechanist God's domain. The era of Alpha was coming. Black Mage stayed where he was for a long while after being defeated. Am I defeated? Has my ambition of achieving 60 successive victories already failed? Who am I? Where am I? What just happened? Just like all the chess players who met Alpha before, Black Mage started to wonder about the meaning of his life. Suddenly, a starlight flashed and a new name appeared in the front of Black Mage. A cloud in the sky, Black Mage remembered that it was the code name of another newbie. Oh, he has achieved 10 successive victories and obtained 1 star point. As a newbie, he did really well. From the aura of his projection, he should be at the legend rank. After all, his exuberant vitality couldn't be fake. However, after meeting the monster, Cyber Elf Alpha, Black Mage suddenly felt that the newbie was quite pleasing to the eye. I can't win against that monster, but it will be quite easy to maltreat other newbies. Looking at the 1 star point newbie, a cloud in the sky, Black Mages sneered. Come on, newbie, let me enjoy the game. Paw. After the routine to decide who went first, Yunshi was on the offensive. He directly put the first chess piece onto Tengen. Hey, Black Mage sneered, grinding his teeth. How dare you give up your upper hand advantage? You are bringing about your own destruction. Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power was hundreds of times stronger than any legend-ranked beings. Black Mage didn't believe that there would be another monster this time. Therefore, when he saw Yunshi put his first chess piece onto Tengen, he forced a ferocious smile. Do you really think that you are a monster like Cyber Elf Alpha? Newbie, I will teach you what a cruel world the Starry Sky chessboard is. Paw. 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 Both of them put down their chess pieces quickly, and Black Mage smoothly brought the situation on the chessboard into chaos. Very well, I will win. Black Mage carefully observed the style of the cloud in the sky, and he confirmed that his style of playing Star Go wasn't like Alpha's strange style at all. His moves have shown that he is totally a newbie. How did he successfully pass the entrance test? He is totally a beginner of Star Go. How did he achieve 10 victories in a row before? Black Mage didn't find any trap on the chessboard and any strange moves of Yunshi's chess pieces. After being defeated by Cyber Elf Alpha, he needed such a game to rebuild his self-confidence. Paw. The 53rd round, Black Mage successfully summoned the Black Death hexagram again. The shadow of Black Cloak appeared behind Black Mage again. He sneered as cold as a god of death. When his Black Death hexagram launched, 1/5 of Yunshi's chess pieces were eaten. Ha ha ha. Black Mage laughed in a creepy tone. The newbie has been recorded on the list of the god of death. He already has no chance to reverse the situation. Even Orphina the Ruby Dragon was defeated by Black Mage's Black Death hexagram once. How can this newbie escape from it? Cyber Elf Alpha could win, because she had predicted the appearance of his Black Death hexagram by using her terrible computing power. She summoned 4 hexagrams by using the power of his hexagram itself. Unless this newbie's computing power was also hundreds of times stronger than his, otherwise, it wasn't possible to reproduce what Cyber Elf Alpha did before. The deduction, prediction, tricks and plans in his game with Alpha was massive. If they wrote their calculation procedures on papers, Black Mage's calculation could cover the surface of a land and Cyber Elf Alpha's calculation could cover the entire surface of a world. After learning from the game with Alpha, Black Mage became more careful. Even though his opponent was just a newbie, he wouldn't give him any chance. Only a thorough victory could help him restore confidence. It's time now. Looking at the KO Black Mage made, Yunshi nodded. Black Mage was probably the strongest chess player he had ever met. From the beginning, Black Mage was preparing for the appearance of the KO. This was Black Mage's style, chaotic trap, which he created after playing Star Go thousands of times in the sea of chaos he built in the real world. Cyber Elf Alpha's style was building on the Planet Quadrant computers and all kinds of affiliated satellites. Black Death hexagram was Black Mage's road of victory. Infinite computing power was Cyber Elf Alpha's absolute advantage of winning. Black Mage dragged his opponent into the sea of chaos, then defeated his opponent by using his rich experience. Cyber Elf Alpha analyzed her opponent's advantage and made up her own disadvantage by her overwhelming computing power. Their styles seemed to be different, but the nature was the same. Most chess players followed the same rule. No matter what the style was, the basic was computing power. Every chess player of Star Go was a real mathematician that had overwhelming, godlike computing power. Till today, an unknown newbie broke into this world. Paw! Yunshi put down his chess piece. The wind rises. This chess piece stood for connection. After being put down, 1/3 of the area on the chessboard became the sanctuary of wind. What? Black Mage opened his mouth wide. How can this be possible? No, the sanctuary of wind, it's not even possible for that to appear in that area. Moreover, it has occupied 1/3 of the area of the chessboard. Compared to Yunshi's sanctuary of wind, his Black Death hexagram was too small. They aren't at the same level. Where am I? Who is playing with me? What happened? Oh, right, when did he build the Sanctuary of Wind? That area doesn't meet any of the requirements for establishing the Sanctuary of Wind. Hiss. The green Sanctuary of Wind was 3 times larger than the Black Death hexagram. It easily blew off the dark air on the star map. The shadow of the god of death behind Black Mage cried and was deported from the chessboard immediately. In the face of the Sanctuary of Wind, Black Mage's Black Death hexagram turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. Impossible. 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 Black Mage gazed at the chessboard. He repeated Yunshi's moves over 1,000 times in his heart, but still couldn't find how this situation formed. This star map biased toward dark type, this was also the reason why he was so confident. What happened? How did the Sanctuary of Wind form? Am I really defeated? What the hell was happening? Black Mage had played Star Go many years, and he was defeated by many people many times. He accepted to be defeated by Orphina the Ruby Dragon, Norn the God of Wisdom and even Cyber Elf Alpha. However, he couldn't accept what happened this time. The game with Cyber Elf Alpha made him wonder what the meaning of his life was. This game with Yunshi made him wonder if he really knew how to play Star Go. He understood how Cyber Elf Alpha defeated him. It was because of her overwhelming computing power. However, he didn't understand how he was defeated by a cloud in the sky at all. There wasn't any battle, competition, or trick. Everything went smoothly just like he thought. Then he suddenly found that he had lost. Weird. It's too weird. Black Mage never met such a style and such an opponent before. This was Yunshi's style of play Star Go. This was his unique genre of Star Go. Yunshi only put down his chess pieces by following his feelings. He didn't need to calculate at all. Black Mage could calculate the change that would happen in the next 30 rounds, calculating 1 teraflop per second. Cyber Elf Alpha was more terrible. She could easily calculate all the changes that would happen in the next 100 rounds, calculating 1 petaflop per second. As for Yunshi's computing power, he still felt headaches when seeing the mathematical books such as 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle. Why could Yunshi win? The reason was simple. When Black Mage tried to set his proud Black Death hexagram in the chaotic area, Yunshi had seen the hidden Sanctuary of Wind on the chessboard. Yes, Black Mage was right, the Sanctuary of Wind wouldn't be formed within 50 rounds, till after the 54th round, the trace of the hidden Sanctuary of Wind would appear. From the chess piece he put on Tengen, Yunshi sensed the aura of the Sanctuary of Wind. From the beginning, he was disposing the Sanctuary of Wind. His instinct told him that the Sanctuary of Wind was the biggest KO that could be formed on this star map. When Black Mage's Black Death hexagram formed, Yunshi's Sanctuary of Wind was waiting for him to activate 30 rounds ago. He was just bored waiting for the coming of the wind. Actually, Black Mage was already defeated 30 rounds ago. He already couldn't stop Yunxi's Sanctuary of Wind from forming at that time. To Yunxi, it was as simple as 1 + 1. In his heart, Stargo was really easy that even a monkey could understand its rules. If Black Mage knew Yunxi's thought, he would definitely spit blood in anger. You can read the star map and naturally understand that the embryonic form of the Sanctuary of Wind would form after 50 rounds. You can see the orbits of stars by using your naked eyes. Oh damn it, if I can do it, why do I need to increase my computing power? The orbits of stars followed countless rules of the world. Every second and minute the changes that happened to a star was astronomical. Only legend-ranked beings could withstand the overwhelming calculation to predict the orbit of stars. Even gods couldn't see the traces of the star map with their eyes. It had nothing to do with computing power. It was simply impossible. His style was already beyond legend. If Black Mage's computing power was 100, Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power would be 10,000 or more, Yunxi's computing power would be only 1 or less. However, he could win, because they were not comparing the same thing. In the eyes of the Black Mage, he saw countless computing formulas when he looked at the stars. In the eyes of Yunxi, he only saw a beautiful star map formed by stars, and he naturally knew how to make it become more beautiful by moving the stars. In Black Mage's mind, Starry Sky Chessboard was a stage of showing wisdom, a competition of computing power. In Yunxi's mind, it was a matter of nature, because he just tried to arrange the patterns on a picture to make it become beautiful. This was the reason why Black Mage froze after seeing Yunxi's Sanctuary of Wind. Till his time ran out, he didn't put down a chess piece. Because the thread in his mind had broken. Isn't he a strange man? Yunxi remembered the chess player called Black Mage, who gave up playing after seeing Yunxi's Sanctuary of Wind. After 11 games, Yunxi gradually learned to conjecture the strength of his opponent from the star points above their heads. So far, Black Mage was the strongest, because he had 4 star points, his moves were skillful and his tricks were also very interesting. However, in Yunxi's mind, Maha Mystery Star Go strength was slightly stronger than Black Mage. My opponents will be stronger and stronger. 4 star points chess player is already so strong, how about 7 star points chess player or even 9 star points chess player? Their star Go strength must be as strong as a monster. Yunxi clenched his fists. Star Go was really easy, and teacher Casina thought that he could achieve 100 successive victories easily. However, he wasn't going to let down his guard. Referred to the game of Go in the mortal world, he himself should be just a beginner, a 4 star points chess player should be an average player, a 6 star points chess player should be a real expert, and a 9 star points chess player should be a high mountain that wasn't possible to climb now. He shouldn't meet 8 star points or 9 star points players too early. The strongest opponent was the 4 star points chess player, Black Mage. Perhaps it was the protection mechanism of the Starry Sky chessboard to newbies. If he only needed to play with other newbies, he was confident to achieve 100 victories in a row. Master, is Star Go interesting? Looking at Yunxi's face, even Mayer could see his confidence. Yes, it's interesting. It's an easy and interesting game, I can't wait for the next turn. The star maps are beautiful. When I put down chess pieces, I felt as if I was touching the real stars. It's fantastic. Thank you, Teacher Casina. Thank you for recommending me to the Starry Sky chessboard. Mayer looked around and murmured, Master, this game isn't as simple as you think. But, it doesn't matter, as long as you enjoy it. At the same time, Cyber Elf Alpha defeated another 4 star points chess player. No, impossible, what happened? The 4 star points chess player, Maple Teeth, supported his hands on the chessboard and gazed at his remaining chess pieces fixedly. He was really shocked by Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power. What are you? Everyone who had played with Alpha had this doubt in their minds. The gap of computing power couldn't be so wide amongst legend-ranked beings. Everyone was shocked by Alpha's overwhelming computing power. After defeating Maple Teeth, Cyber Elf Alpha had achieved 40 victories in a row. When other people had only played a dozen turns, Cyber Elf Alpha had achieved 40 successive victories and obtained 4 star points. Her computing power was far beyond anyone's imagination. From the beginning, none of them could take any advantages in the face of her. Most chess players were defeated by her within 50 rounds. Black Mage was a rare exception that could set and launch his KO. In some sense, Black Mage's Sea of Chaos was the only Star-Go style that made a few troubles to Alpha. In order to find the rules amongst the chaos Black Mage created on the chessboard, she had to increase her computing power tenfold. When playing with Black Mage, Cyber Elf Alpha had rarely requested support, asking for increasing the number of planet computers. After defeating Black Mage, the next 9 turns of game didn't make any trouble for Alpha. Now, there were only 2 opponents that were still blocking her way from becoming the strongest Star-Go player. The well-known strongest attack, Orphina the Ruby Dragon. The well-known strongest defense, Norn the God of Wisdom, the only 6 star points chess player. They didn't make Alpha wait too long. As the biggest black horse, Cyber Elf Alpha finally met Norn the God of Wisdom at her 41st turn of the game. When the list appeared, it instantly attracted the eyes of all the legend-ranked beings who were looking at the starry sky chessboard. The biggest black horse, the supernova star of Star-Go, Cyber Elf Alpha. The strongest chess player, the number 1 wise man in the endless gods' domains, Norn the God of Wisdom. Who is the strongest? Who will be the new king of Star-Go? Countless people looked at the tower, waiting for the result. Cyber Elf Alpha played 40 rounds and achieved 40 victories in a row. Norn the God of Wisdom played 27 rounds and achieved 27 successive victories. No matter who was the final winner, everyone was sure that this turn of the game would become a masterpiece throughout the ages. Many people were waiting for the record of this Star-Go game after they decided who was the winner. At the same time, Yunshi just started his 15th turn of the game. This smell. Hey, Cassina, is it you? Orphina the Ruby Dragon looked at the cloud in the sky in surprise. Even though the figure of a cloud in the sky was covered with starlights, however, Cassina was Orphina's best friend. How could she mistake the unique smell of her best friend? No, I'm not Cassina the battle god. Yunshi retorted guiltily. He was just a fake, he didn't want to expose his identity now. Liar. How will I mistake your smell? Don't forget the past we slept in the same bed. Orphina licked her lips, remembering Cassina's alluring body scent, slender legs, warm lips, and the aroma of the wine. A dragon was a kind of long-lived creature. Orphina was a rare starlight dragon, the ruby that Yasha the dragon god bred in person, the starlight dragon princess. Although she was still small, due to her elegant, beautiful dragon body and rare starlight type, she was the pride of the dragon race since the first day of her birth. She and Mumu Solibert the white holy dragon were called the twin stars of the dragon race. Cassina the battle god was Orphina's best friend. They once formed an adventure team, adventuring together. Cassina was the striker, defeating their enemies using her excellent martial arts. Orphina was the defender, eliminating their enemies using her special gem magic. They were the best friends who told each other their secrets, and the confidants who once slept on the same bed. To Orphina, Cassina was special in her heart. Cassina's character was careless, and this was the point that Orphina liked. Because of their long life, most dragons had no interest in any humans. After all, apart from legend-ranked humans, even the lives of hero-ranked humans were short in their eyes. Maybe they just went to sleep, then after they woke up, their human friends had died. Just like most dragons, Orfina also liked to sleep. However, she had a special avatar. When her true body slept in the Emerald Dream, she could use her avatar to travel around the world. Meeting with Cassina was her happiest occasion within the last 1,000 years. She clearly remembered Cassina's height, weight and even the size of her breasts, so she would never mistake her with anyone else. The mysterious person whose code name was the Cloud in the Sky was undoubtedly her best friend, Cassina. The immortal battle god, whose hobby was dancing, the holder of the sands of time, Cassina the Sky Sword. No, you got the wrong person. Yunshik shook his head and firmly denied. Even if the Ruby Princess was really teacher Cassina's best friend, he wouldn't admit it. It's a secret. Ho ho, why are you still pretending? Orfina smiled and covered her mouth. Yes, this is her, Cassina's special character. What a liar. Yes, I don't make mistakes. If I'm wrong, it's the fault of the world. I'm not wrong. If everyone thinks that I'm wrong, I will correct the view of everyone. If the world doesn't accept me, then I will change the world. This was Cassina, the Sixth Sky Sword, the legend who ruled the Battle Gods Championship contest. But when did she start to play Star Go? Orfina remembered that she taught Cassina the rules of Star Go before, but she had no interest in it and even fell asleep when she listened to her lessons. She didn't even remember the basic rules of Star Go. Orfina felt sorry for her, because Star Go was her favorite game, the stage she could challenge almost all the sophists in the Endless Gods domains. Her code name Ruby Princess was well known by almost all Star Go players. After all, apart from Norn the God of Wisdom, everyone was defeated by her more than once. Black Mage thought that his Sea of Chaos could restrain her attack. What idiotic nonsense that was. When she played with Black Mage, she knew all the tricks he was playing. However, she still chose to face the tricks with her strongest attack, breaking all the obstacles in front of her. I will break all obstacles. No matter who my opponent is, god or demon, it doesn't matter. I look forward to the battle, I'm eager for the battle, only the battle can let my blood burn. March forward courageously is forever the style of my chess pieces. Orfina looked at her opponent with curiosity after confirming that it was Cassina. She didn't remember if Cassina played Star Go before, but there was already 1 star point above her head, which meant that Cassina had achieved 10 victories in a row, becoming one of the top 100 Star Go players. Is she really the Cassina I know? The invisible battle god started to play Star Go. Orfina felt strange. It wasn't Cassina's style at all. You go first, I give up. As Cassina's predecessor of Star Go, Orfina gave up the guessing odd and even game and let Cassina play first. Is it fine? Looking at the 5 star points above the Ruby Princess head, Yunshi wondered. She was undoubtedly the strongest opponent he had ever met after coming to the Starry Sky chessboard. Referred to the game of Go in the real world, 5 star points meant that she was an expert of Star Go, and Yunshi could feel the strong sense of self-confidence from the Ruby Princess. Her atmosphere was far stronger than Black Mage, which could only be cultivated after countless victories. The game started, a fiery red star map appeared on the chessboard. Yunshi was slightly surprised. What a beautiful star map. Orfina praised looking at the star map. Interpreting the secrets of stars using a star map, it was an overwhelming masterpiece to Orfina the Ruby Dragon. The fire is burning. The sun comes up in the east, there is a tree called Fuso. Yunshi's hand subconsciously picked up a chess piece and put it onto the center of the chessboard. Tengen. Orfina felt both funny and annoyed. Cassina, I remember when I taught you the rules of Star Go, I told you that you shouldn't put your first chess piece onto Tengen. Putting your first chess piece onto Tengen is equal to giving up your upper hand advantage, it's common sense. If you put down your first chess piece there, You will need to calculate the situation on the entire chessboard from the beginning. It isn't a wise choice. Yunxi looked up at the Ruby Princess in confusion. Why? The most terrible KO is lurking in this position. It was a shadow with a pair of fiery red wings, flying above the 33 heavens. It was the absolute dominator of this star map. This star map is of fire type. It's possible to breed a fire-type fantastic creature. I think it's a Rathalos, an ultimate fire dragon that can defeat all creatures on this starfield. You chose the red chess piece. It was a wise decision, but you put it on the wrong place. Orphina the ruby dragon put down a chess piece on a corner of the chessboard. If she put her chess piece in the center of the chessboard too, the depletion of her computing power would be hundreds of times more than the computing power she would use if she put her chess piece on the corner. Therefore, unless she was teaching other people the rules of Star Go, she would never put the first chess piece in the center of the chessboard. What's the most important element when playing Star Go? Computing power. Essentially, Star Go was a game to complete the computing powers of the chess players. Calculating the nature of the star map, the moves of the chess pieces and the changes that would happen as time went by. Every move on the chessboard would be determined after countless calculation. This was the essential gap between Star Go and other board games. Just like the changes of stars in the real world, even Orphina had the power of starlight. She was not quite sure that she could calculate all the changes that would happen on the chessboard. However, she naturally understood the natures of the star map and chess pieces, plus her excellent computing power. This was her trump card to be the only 5-star points chess player who was only slightly inferior to Norn the god of wisdom. Maybe there were some people whose computing power was stronger than her, but her understanding about star maps was the best. For instance, when Orphina first saw this star map, the method of how to form the sanctuary of fire on the chessboard immediately appeared in her mind. She even predicted the ultimate form of the sanctuary of fire, a Rathalos, one of the overlord fantastic creatures in the void. Just like what Black Mage did, using Black Death hexagram to summon the shadow of the god of death, the strong sanctuary of fire could achieve the same thing. It was the skill that only high star point Star Go players could master, the phenomenon after deeply exploring the rules of stars. I will win. After predicting the figure of the Rathalos, Orphina had seen the road of victory. Paw. 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 Orphina put down her chess pieces quickly. Even in the face of her best friend, Cassina, she wasn't going to play match fixing. She knew Cassina was obsessed with winning, so was she. Cassina would turn into an invincible battle god in the Battle Gods Championship contest, smashing countless legend-ranked warriors' self-confidence. She did the same thing in the Starry Sky chessboard. Her purpose of playing Star Go was to pursue the thrill of victory. Therefore, no matter who her opponent was, she would defeat her opponent using the most fierce attacks. Cassina, it's unexpected to see you here. I remember I didn't tell you the reason why I like to play Star Go. Orphina had confirmed that she would win this game within 10 rounds. She showed a smile of confidence on her face. I have a younger sister, her name is Mumu Solibert, which means the purest white light. Yunxi's hand suddenly trembled, almost putting down his chess piece at the wrong place. Mumu Solibert. Oh, it's really a familiar name. Isn't she the dragon who broke into White Lotus Sword Domain and slept in the Water God's world? She was the first legend-ranked being Yun she had ever seen. So, the White Holy Dragon, Mumu Solibert, is the young sister of the Ruby Princess. In this case, the real identity of the Ruby Princess must be a dragon in the Dragon God's domain. She is a naive but kind child. She knows nothing about the cruel world, as innocent as white paper. From the bottom of her heart, she believes that her father likes her, he just had to leave her for some reason. She believed that as long as she keeps looking for her father, she would find him someday and obtain his love again. Why do I feel that I have heard some similar words before? Unfortunately, I know it's impossible. That bastard, he abandoned his wife and child and left nothing to them. How does he deserve their love and trust? We can't change the past, but we can protect the present and create an ideal future. Every man is bad in nature. Poor Mumu, she hasn't known that her father is a bastard. Her mom is just one of that man's victims. Tell me, Cassina, do you think such a father still deserves his daughter's love? Orfina asked. Well, she'd better give up looking for him, Yunshik answered honestly, and suddenly felt a chill down his back. From the description of that man, why did it sound like my past life? It must be a coincidence. Yes, it is nonsense that women are not as outstanding as men. We don't need to rely on men. We are women, but we can create our bright future with our hands. Stargo is my battlefield. I will overcome all opponents here, proving that I'm the king of the starry sky chessboard. Orfina the ruby dragon looked at Cassina with longing. Oh, my favorite soulmate. Your romantic spirit, your innocence, your wayward character, your strong strength, they are all so attractive. You are the invincible battle god, the most beautiful dancer, and now, you even start to play Stargo. You are the most perfect lover in my dream. Cassineth the battle god, my light, my hope, my precious. I swear to the great stars. After I win, I will immediately ask her to marry me. It must be the arrangement of fate to let me meet her at this time, this place, this stage. This stage of the greatest wisdom in the endless God's domains is our wedding scene. This time, I must win. Orfina's wonderful future was already close enough to touch. They were both at the legend rank and had great talents, and now, they even started to like the same game. From the bottom of her heart, Orfina thought that Cassina was the other half of her life. When she was still a child who longed for her father just like her younger sister, Mumu Solibert, she asked what the feeling was to fall in love. Love is an impulse from the bottom of your heart. When you look at your lover, you will naturally realize that he is the right person. No matter how many opponents I will have, I will be the final winner. No matter how much I will pay, I will let him become my possession. Never give up, never fall back, even if the entire world is against me, I will be honest to my heart. If you meet such a person one day, just do what you want. We dragons never concede. When Orfina was bigger, she knew what the terrible mistake her father had made was. She felt confused. Mom, my father is so indecisive and frivolous, why do you like him? The great dragon god opened her black wings, covering countless stars. She answered her confused little daughter, so what? But, isn't love a resonance between two lovers? Yes, I'm also doing my best, but I still can't kill those three. The dragon god swung her tail, napping 3 newborn stars. Why don't they just quit without affectation? I'm the only one who loves him in this world. If I caught him at that time, I shouldn't be deceived by him and agree for him to build these star bridges. Liar. Orfina's great mom's answer really shocked her young heart. For the first time, she realized that her mom wasn't omnipotent, at least, her father once deceived her mom. After that, Orfina started to study the star bridges and towers. Relying on her familiarity to stars, she finally came to the starry sky chessboard. When she first saw the star map on the starry sky chessboard, her heart was captured. She believed that this was her holy land, her battlefield. In this world, she could show herself, proving the value of her life. Just like the Battle Gods Championship contest was Cassina's highest stage, this was her highest stage too. At this time, at this place, she would defeat Cassina and obtain the highest glory in this mystery world, just like what Cassina obtained in the Battle Gods Championship contest. It would be the best celebration after proposing. Therefore, I will do my best. Calculating. 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 I will win after 7 rounds. Orfina gave her whole attention to the golden red chessboard. Her chess pieces and Cassina's had captured all the main points on the chessboard, however, her chess pieces had dominated most of the areas on the chessboard. Cassina's chess pieces were divided into 2 corners, looking like a pair of wings that had been torn open. Anyone who knew the basic rules of Star Go could see that Orfina had occupied the absolute advantage. Cassina, don't concede quickly, I have something to say after this game. Orfina took a deep breath with a serious look. Concede. Yunshi looked at the chessboard in confusion. Everything just went smooth, the pair of wings were already going to form. Is there something I don't see? Yes, I'm sorry because I will let you face a crushing defeat, but, keep your chin up. As a rookie, you are doing well. I didn't suspect that you would also play Star Go someday. Orfina said honestly, praising Cassina, the most perfect dream lover in her heart. Gender won't be a problem. Race won't be a problem. As long as we love each other, it's enough. Cassina and I can pass through all tests and couple up happily. We can drink and chat, and do this thing and that thing every day. This was heaven in Orfina's heart. Now, she was only 6 rounds away from heaven. In fact, Cassina was still too naive in Orfina's heart. Her Star Go strength was just at the beginner level. When she put her first chess piece onto Tengen, her failure was already doomed. Well, it's easy to understand. Yunshi glanced at the chessboard again, making sure that he didn't make any mistake. Paw. 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 Every sound of putting down the chess pieces was the sweet countdown leading to heaven. The 5th round from the end of the game, the figure of Rat Halos had vaguely appeared. The fierce dragon was going to wake up. The 4th round from the end of the game, Something isn't right. But it doesn't matter, my victory is already mine. The 3rd round from the end of the game, victory is close at hand. Orfina started to prepare the words she would say after a while. I love you. We must have been lovers in our past lives, so we can meet each other in this life. You and your sands of time are the forever colors in my mind. You are the brightest star in the Battle Gods Championship contest, and I will pick off the crown of the starry sky chessboard, presenting it to you. In my eyes, you are so bright and beautiful today. My honey, my gem, you are my unique flower in the world. The 2nd round from the end of the game, Orfina put down the chess piece which stood for her hope and future. Cassina, marry me. 1 round. After 1 round, I can win and marry you. Okay, it's over. Yunshi put down his chess piece in the center of Orfina's chess pieces, in the place where the heart of the fierce fire dragon was. The next second, a gorgeous figure with a pair of golden red wings shot up from the chessboard, flying above the entire star map with infinite golden red flames. It was a crimson fire dragon, an overlord fantastic creature in the fire starfield. There were a big red gem and 2 small red gems on its forehead, which stood for the source power of fire. A stocky red horn covered its head like a big cutter wheel, wrapped around by countless red and black flames. On its huge red wings and under its strong lower limbs, there were thick exoskeletons protecting its body. The fierce red scales on its body were vivid, far clearer than the shadow of the god of death Black Mage just summoned. Its dragon eyes looked like a pair of lava pools, endless evil auras were boiling inside of them, announcing the dragon's identity. Its scales sparkled like the crystals of fire with vague black lines on them, which stood for the road of power it had chosen. It was once a pure-blooded crimson dragon, the Lord of Fire, but it wallowed in degeneration, indulging in wanton massacres in the mortal world. Because it was a pure-blooded crimson dragon, after being infected by demon air, it became a fire demon dragon that was much stronger than any real crimson dragon. It wasn't being lured by the abyss, but degenerated into the deepest side of hell of its own free will. It proactively accepted the aura of destruction and tyranny, turning into the avatar of greed and madness, Rat Halos. Since its projection was summoned by Orphina's Sanctuary of Fire, appearing on the unknown star map, it meant that the fire demon dragon had controlled a trace of rules of the immortal, leaving its projection in the history of the endless gods' domains. Orphina believed that once she successfully summoned this fire demon dragon, Rat Halos, the victory would be right in her hands. Till she saw the golden red phantom. Yes, the figure with a pair of golden red wings was just a phantom, to be precise, it was just a vague concept. From the outline of its body, it should be a golden red bird, however, Orphina never saw such an ornate, bright golden, mythical bird. The mythical bird was surrounded by endless spirits of fire, and it had 3 legs. There was nothing around the bird apart from the infinite flames. Looking at it, Orphina confirmed that it was the strongest, most beautiful fantastic creature she had ever seen. The sun-like 3-legged mythical bird wasn't recorded in the books of dragons, it was a new, unknown, ultimate fantastic creature. It stood for the source of life, the highest mystery that could never be touched and studied. Its golden red wings could cover the entire world, flying above the 33 heavens. It raised its head, looking around, and any place that it was looking at, started to burn. Even the rock under the ground started to boil, becoming a sea of lava. Above the boiling sea of lava, countless spirits of fire flew to it, danced and sang around it. Golden spirits of light were born and turned around it, waiting for its orders. The fire demon dragon, Rat Halos, just formed on the chessboard and hadn't announced its appearance with an ear-splitting roar. It had been surrounded by endless flames. Its body was theoretically immune in the face of any fire, but now, it was ignited and turned into golden red particles, disappearing in the air. The golden red mythical bird just waved its wings, countless golden lights had pierced through the body of the fire demon dragon like the sharpest swords, turning it into ashes. All the areas on the star map were covered by endless solar storms, one black point after another appeared and exploded in the golden red world of fire. There were sunspots, generating from the strongest light and heat. Sunlights could breed new lives, they could also destroy everything and burn everything. As the fire of the sun dropped onto the ground, all lives would melt, only the spirits of fire and light could dance around the mythical bird above the 33 heavens. It was an ultimate fantastic creature that no mortal could touch. It had superpowers, and was also surrounded by infinite loneliness. It was a god that would be born in the future called Immemorial Era. It was the ultimate fantastic creature that would cause the havoc called 10 Suns Cover the Sky. What Orphina saw was the sun, the strongest sun walker in the future. It could never descend into the mortal world and could only live above the 33 heavens, otherwise, its light and heat would burn the entire world into ashes. During this era, it hadn't been born yet, but its concept had formed, and it had a name. The starry sky chessboard caught a fragment of the future and predicted its birth. Then Yunshi found its existence from the star map and summoned it by using Orphina's Sanctuary of Fire. Darkness had been expelled from the star map, the entire chessboard was covered with beautiful golden red lights. On the vast star map, no other colors were still existing. It wasn't the disaster of sky and earth, but a new, ultimate KO Orphina hadn't seen before but really existed. Most stars were crushed and disappeared in the endless explosions of sunspots. Only a few stars whose orbits were far away from the sunspots dodged the disaster, following around the newborn golden red light in the center of the world. After destroying most things on the star map, the golden mythical bird finally folded its wings, rested on its sun and looked at the past through the chessboard. The golden red bird should just be a KO on the star map. It couldn't really be an existing life. However, Orphina saw wisdom from the eyes of the mysterious golden red bird and mystery, which was as great as her mother. What is this fantastic creature? Orphina looked at the golden red figure who burned her fire demon dragon into ashes and swallowed the entire sanctuary of fire. She was really shocked. It was just a vague outline. Its true body didn't even really appear on the chessboard. It had dominated the entire star map. Its absolute power made Orphina feel helpless. Does this fire-type fantastic creature really exist in the history of the endless gods' domains? No, it can't be a simple fire-type fantastic creature. From the body of the golden red mythical bird, Orphina sensed the power of stars, which was similar to her power but was far stronger than her power even if she transferred into her ruby dragon form. Her true body could turn into a gem star under the aegis of her great mother, Yasha the dragon god. The weight of the gem star was 59.610 quintillion. Even if she simply moved her body in the void, her body would cause gravitational tidal effects on other stars nearby her. The gem star was her core, the source of her legend-ranked power. She herself was the most terrible war machine in the dragon god's domain, a moving natural disaster. She and another dragon god's apostle, Thanatos the lair of dragon, were the ultimate forces of the dragon race. Her true body was too big, so she was sleeping in the emerald dream most of the time. If she wanted to go outside, she would use this human form avatar she was using now. She never imagined that there would be any fantastic creature that was bigger than her true body and more beautiful. Even if it did nothing, it deserved to be worshipped by all creatures. It was the sun, the flame above the 33 heavens, the god ruling the world. People must kneel down in front of it, praise and believe in it, creating countless poems and tales for it. The land that was shone by its golden red light, the legend of it would be eulogized forever. In the future, it had countless names, because it was so distinguished, so beautiful, so holy. Anyone who saw its appearance would think it was the avatar of immortality. I don't know, Yunshi was dumbfounded too. Looking at the mythical bird who was pecking its feathers, he had a feeling that he just summoned a very strong fantastic creature. What a miracle, the starry sky chessboard. I haven't even reached the hero rank, but can actually summon this unknown beautiful bird by using the sanctuary of fire. Yes, it was all due to the starry sky chessboard. Yunshi didn't think that he had any relationship with it. After all, it looked like a bird that only exists in fairy tales. However, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Did it just look at me? Oh, again. It's staring at me. Wait, isn't it just a projection? How can it have a sense of itself? No fear. Don't panic. I'm not using my own body but teacher Cassina's avatar. Outside of the starry sky chessboard, on the peak of the eastern god's domain, in the world of countless fantastic creatures' homeland, all living beings suddenly had a feeling that something was going to happen. In the sky, countless golden red lines spread around the sun, as if something terrible was going to be born from it. In the North Sea, the ancient giant creature, Kuan, leaped from the water in the form of a whale, then flew to the sky in the form of a rock. However, its feathers were burned by roasting about halfway. It was scared and immediately dived into the sea. A group of Suparnas flew to the sun from the western god's domain. However, they couldn't withstand the temperature of the golden red particles around the sun, shouted and wrangled. Only the feather snake who didn't have a physical body could get close to the super being who hadn't born, hovering around it. In the east, the green dragon looked at the terrible scene and became lost in thought. In the west, the white tiger looked up at the figure in the sky, itching for a try. In the south, the princess rosefinch chattered with its family dependents, flying to the sun. In the north, countless ancient words emerged out from the old turtle's black shell. West Queen, is it she? The master of the Kunlun god's domain, the mother of all fantastic creatures, West Queen answered, "Yes, this child is going to wake up. Her name is Golden Sun Crow. She will be the most beautiful star in the future, the origin of the immemorial era." As if time itself stopped when Yunshi summoned the golden bird. For the first time, Morphina started to wonder if she was really the favorite of stars. Where am I? What am I doing? Who is my opponent? Is this Cassina a fake? In my memory, Cassina can't be so strong. Cassina is the invincible battle god in the mystery word, the Battle Gods Championship contest. However, how can she be so strong in this mystery world, the Starry Sky chessboard? They are two distinct worlds. Yunshi was confused too. He knew it was just a projection on the chessboard, however, he had a feeling that it was looking at him. Although its era hadn't started and it hadn't been born, they had had an unknown relationship. Oh, this is really not good, Meir had the same feeling. Amongst the three roads Yunshi chose before, a road which had been closed suddenly had the sign of being activated. Beyond the beginning of obscurity, at the first second of being born of the world, a being named Primordial was born. Here is the place where the steel of the heavens fell asleep. At the same time, on the other battlefield of the Starry Sky chessboard. The hourglasses of both sides had run out by 1/3. The two chess players were having a tight competition. Cyber Elf Alpha, you aren't just a newbie. Norn the god of wisdom looked at the chessboard and murmured. I'm the strongest cyber elf. For the first time, Cyber Elf Alpha didn't achieve absolute advantage from the beginning. She looked at the chessboard in confusion and requested for additional computing power for her true body in the Mechanist god's domain. The game with Norn was tougher than she had expected. In the Mechanist god's domain, countless alchemists and engineers were busy at work, like ants. Surrounding the god crystal, over 10,000 people were working for Alpha. There were similar scenes also happening in other places in the interplanetary network which was specially built for Alpha. In order to increase Alpha's computing power, the people of the Mechanist god's domain built hundreds of planet quadrant computers. In order to transmit data at the fastest speed, they built many more special communication satellites. With the support of the hundreds of planet quadrant computers, Cyber Elf Alpha could be invincible on the Starry Sky chessboard, crushing her opponents using her overwhelming computing power. However, she finally met the strongest opponent, who wasn't inferior to her in the game at all. The number 1 star Go player, Norn the god of wisdom. Even though Alpha's computing power was hundreds of times stronger than any common legend-ranked being, she couldn't take the advantage within the first 50 rounds. It was really out of her expectations. The computing power she used now was already far beyond the computing power she used when playing with Black Mage. Now, she had to request more supportive computing power. Cyber Elf Alpha's requirement was equal to Oracle to the engineers in the Mechanist god's domain. She was the miracle they created with their hands. Her order overrode all rules. Cyber Elf Alpha applies for more computing power. The first set, second set and third set of planet quadrant computers are overheating. Be quick, inject more coolant liquid. Launch the 15th and 16th planet quadrant computers. Move. 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 Bring 50 communication satellites online. Our primary goal is to increase Alpha's computing power. No wonder he is the god of wisdom, our Alpha is getting serious. Humph, it's not surprising since he is the strongest star Go player. However, our Alpha will be the final winner. Victory belongs to us. One creator of metal after another was launched on one planet after another. They were connected to the ley lines of the planets and started their synchronous computation for Alpha. At the orbits amongst planets, beautiful rhombic metal satellites reflected cold blue lights, transmitting the results of the computation to the god crystal. All the links of the entire process stood for the highest achievement of the mechanist god's domain. Most engineers were just mortal. However, by using these planet quadrant computers and the god crystal, they finally created the exclusive god of the mechanist god's domain. Everyone believed that the era of Alpha was coming. The newborn cyber god would defeat the old gods in intelligence, becoming the avatar of wisdom in the endless god's domain. Talk. 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 After increasing the computing power again, the metal antennas on Alpha's head rang. In her pupils that were covered by starlights, countless data flashed through like a waterfall. Input the coordinates and orbits of the stars. Set 10,000 equations for the next 3 rounds, putting 10 trillion computing power into use for each of the equations. Set 30,000 equations to calculate the possible locations the god of wisdom would put down his chess pieces, putting 100 trillion computing power into use for each of the equations. Start to overclock the first, second, and third planet quadrant computers. Merge the 14th, 15th, and 16th into the quadrant computing network. Increase 15% of the total computing power. This was Alpha's style of battle. No matter who her opponent was, she could crush them by increasing her computing power infinitely. Even if it was the legend of Star Go, Norn the god of wisdom. Even before the design data of Cyber Elf Alpha was finished, all the information of Norn had been recorded in the quadrant computers of the mechanist god's domain and was studied countless times. From thousands of years ago, the mechanist god's domain had been prepared for this duel, the game which stood for the highest wisdom in the endless god's domains. Norn's level was forever the highest amongst all the Star Go players that had been recorded. Code name, the God of Wisdom. Real identity, the God of Wisdom of the Western God's domain, the Sorcerer Supreme of the Sorcerer God's domain, the Supreme Magister of the Mage God's domain. In some gods' domains, people called him the God of Medicine or the Guardian of Agriculture. Origin, unknown. Homeland, unknown. Appearance, most of the time, his appearance is a one-eyed old man with a caduceus. Occasionally, he would appear using the face of a young man. He was the strongest Star Go player and one of the top 3 mages. He once defeated 3 Supreme Magisters alone. Throughout the history of the Starry Sky chessboard, his winning percentage was the highest. No matter who his opponent was, his winning percentage was always over 50%. It was really amazing. Now, Cyber Elf Alpha noticed something incongruous from Norn. Winning probability, 51%. Draw probability, 28%. Failure probability, 21%. This was what Alpha calculated from the game with Norn the God of Wisdom. In the face of Norn the God of Wisdom on the Starry Sky chessboard, 51% of winning probability was unprecedented. However, it was abnormal to Cyber Elf Alpha. Her computing power was hundreds of times stronger than Norn's, and she had put every chess piece onto the most suitable place on the chessboard. How can Norn the God of Wisdom have any chance to reverse the situation? Which part is wrong? Is there a flaw in my equations? Start self-scan. Cyber Elf Alpha ordered, then the engineers of the mechanist god's domain started to get busy with work again. One planet quadrant computer after another started to self-scan with loud roars. Every second Cyber Elf Alpha spent on the Starry Sky chessboard, the resource she consumed could make a small country go bankrupt. This was the necessary price to launch Cyber Elf Alpha. It was the feature of this newborn cyber god. At the same time, in the caduceus of Loren the God of Wisdom, 3 small light points were looking at the huge Starry Sky chessboard gloomily. This was a secret no one knew. Norn the God of Wisdom wasn't one person. To be precise, the one-eyed old man and the young man were both the real Norn's disguises. The real Norn was a Trinitarian god. It was the avatar of 3 goddesses who revived after the twilight of the gods. The first goddess was Thord, the big sister of the 3 goddesses. Her name represented past and death. She was the most exalted one of the three. Ord had short silver hair and brown skin, because her mother was a giant, the queen of the giant kingdom. The second goddess was Verthandi, the middle sister of the three goddesses. Her name represented present and fate. Verthandi had soft black long hair and snow-white skin. She was a standard god in the era of the twilight of the gods. The third goddess was Skuld, the younger sister of the three goddesses. Her name represented future, and she was the most optimistic one of the Norns. Skuld had golden braids and a cute face. Her properties were average, because her bloodline was from giant and god both. They were the descendants of Ymir, the natural goddesses who were bred by Yggdrasil. Norn wasn't just one person, but Norns. This was the reason why Norn was the strongest mage, because his power was from three goddesses. Why could Norn stand firmly and fight steadily on the starry sky chessboard? Because Norns could observe their opponent from past, present, and future at the same time, so they could design the most perfect countermeasure. Even Orfina couldn't defeat Norn, because her strategy was totally undisguised in the eyes of the three goddesses. However, Norn the god of wisdom faced their biggest challenge today. Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power was too strong. Even Norns felt the strain in the face of Alpha. Even though they could predict what Alpha would do after 5 rounds, they didn't understand the meaning of Alpha's moves. They could see her chess pieces, but couldn't understand the implication behind them. It was really a long-lost experience for the Norns. It was an unknown state they tasted before when they faced the existences that were beyond the legend rank. In the entire Western Gods domain, only one person could let Norns have this feeling. Aeonia, the god above all gods, the master of the entire Western Gods domain. Of course, Cyber Elf Alpha couldn't have touched the realm of the god above all gods. However, her computing power was also beyond the limit of Norns. Cyber Elf Alpha's doubt was also the three goddesses' doubt. Something was incongruous. At the 100th round, Cyber Elf Alpha finally found the most suitable method by increasing her computing power. The Sea of Chaos, the unique skill of Black Mage. The more chaotic the situation on the chessboard, the higher computing power the chess players needed to put into use. Norn the god of wisdom didn't make any mistake, however, he was still defeated. Although the three goddesses could predict the following 5 rounds of the game, however, they didn't understand Alpha's line of thought, which caused them to waste too much time. And this was the turning point to determine the last winner. Till the 130th round, Norn's chess pieces on the chessboard were just slightly less than Alpha's. The situation was still uncertain. At this time, the fatal problem appeared. Norn had almost run out of time. Star-Go actually had a time limit. Because Norn spent much more time in thinking than Cyber Elf Alpha, his time was first to run out. The 150th round, Norn finally conceded. Norn had only about 10 seconds. The three goddesses knew that they couldn't win within 10 seconds. By using her strong computing power, Cyber Elf Alpha finally defeated the strongest chess player, ascending the throne of the starry sky chessboard. In the caduceus stood for wisdom, the three goddesses touched the marks stood for concede at the same time. Ord, Verdandi, and Skuld all agreed that they had been defeated. Standing in the balance of victory, the weight of Cyber Elf Alpha was far heavier than their weight. They could find no way to reverse the situation within 10 seconds. We lost. Ord had not reconciled and knocked on the chessboard. She knew they had been defeated. It's too bad that we have run out of time. Verdandi sighed. If there was no time limit, she thought that they could strive for a draw. The computing power of Cyber Elf Alpha was too strong. Whoa! It's really a crushing defeat. The younger sister, Skuld, looked at the chessboard with her eyes opened wide. Although they were defeated before, they didn't face any crushing defeat like this time. Even though they could predict the future, they couldn't find any solution, because Alpha's style was far beyond their understanding. The newborn cyber god of the Mechanist god's domain finally proved her strength this time. Well, according to the routine, let's predict. She deserves us to predict for her. I want to know what her future is. No matter whether it was in the real world or on the starry sky chessboard, once they lost, they would predict for their opponents, observing their fates in the endless god's domains. She was born in an ancient ruin, she is a child that had been abandoned by the era. She will become the king above all kings, defeat all the glories from the old time and put on the crown with a star mark. She is the brightest new star in this era, she will become an immortal legend. Undoubtedly, it was their prediction for Cyber Elf Alpha, and their affirmation to her power. The three goddesses had seen a new star rising in the endless gods' domains. She stood for a brand new road, a huge revolution. The starry sky chessboard was the first place she announced her coming. Will she become our enemy? Ord looked at Skuld. In fact, amongst the three sisters, only the younger sister, Skuld, could see the future. No, it wasn't an accurate prediction like Ouroboros's divine, but a vague trend. They could only judge if one was their enemy or friend. If they were lucky, they could catch a slice of the scene of the future. If possible, I don't want to be her enemy. It'd better if we can be friends. Verdandi looked at Skuld with a gentle look, waiting for her answer. Cyber Elf Alpha, prediction, trend. Skuld closed her eyes and did her duty. She won't be our enemy. Ord let out a sigh of relief. Verdandi smiled. She will be our friend. Ord shrugged her shoulders, and Verdandi covered her mouth with joy. She will be our sister. Skuld felt strange about the future she just saw. Could Cyber Elf Alpha have any relationship with them? Ord was surprised. In the entire gods' domains, only a few people knew their true identities. How would she become their new sister? Really? Verdandi was overjoyed. If they could get help from Cyber Elf Alpha, her strong computing power could help them solve a lot of problems. Even though they were the god of wisdom, they would also face a lot of trouble sometimes. She will sleep on the same bed with us. Skuld suddenly stopped. She blushed and shook her head. No, I can't keep predicting. The scene I predicted just now is too embarrassing. Oh, doesn't it mean she will become a real sister of us? Ord imagined the scene that they slept on the same bed with the little Alpha. She was satisfied. Oh, it's really lucky if we can have such a cute new sister. Verdandi said in a happy tone. They could feel Alpha's aura as a newborn god, so they had vaguely guessed her true identity. Sisters, looking at Ord and Verdandi, Skuld wanted to say something, but finally closed her mouth. In the scene of future she saw, they hugged together and wore nothing. Sister Ord and Sister Verdandi seemed very happy in the scene. She and Alpha also looked very joyful in the scene, they hugged each other and their snow-white toes even tangled together. How can I tell them this future I saw? When Norn conceded, in the Mechanist god's domain. We win. It's Alpha's victory. We made it. No matter whether they were young or old, no matter whether they were goblins, humans or elves, the alchemists and engineers all cheered at this moment. At this second, they were the happiest people in the world. In the god Crystal, the newborn cyber god opened her eyes, looking at the world she just knew with curiosity and happiness. Hello, world. Cassina. Orphina's eyes swam in tears, looking at Yunshi. Cassina. Orphina wagged her tail, looking at Yunshi. Cassina. Orphina gazed at Yunshi with a look that even the cruelest man wouldn't turn a cold shoulder to. Yunshi sighed and looked at Orphina, who was looking at him like a puppy who just lost her master. He really didn't know the relationship between the Ruby Princess and his teacher Cassina. What should I say now? Should I comfort her? Whoa, my Cassina can't be so strong. Orfina cried and just let the last golden gravel in the hourglass drop to the bottom. She had even prepared the dialogue of proposing after she won. She was just one step away from victory. But she lost. She was defeated both on the chessboard and in the world of loving. Who can explain this whole thing to me? The golden red mythical bird just waved its wings, the fire demon dragon I summoned was burned to ashes. Where was it from? Well, I'm not Cassina, Yunshi persisted his claim. After all, he was indeed not Cassina. No. I know you are Cassina. Orfina ground her teeth. Orfina clenched her fists. Orfina raised her tail. She wouldn't mistake her lover's figure and smell. She even firmly remembered the lengths of Cassina's fingers and the widths of Cassina's feet. How could she mistake her identity? Yunshi was speechless while the sweat was pouring down his face. Fortunately, when Orfina's time ran out, the starry sky chessboard had automatically judged that she had lost. Cassina. I will defeat you the next time. I will say it after I win. Realizing that the game was over, Orfina wiped her tears away and announced. Yes, this was her stage, her favorite battlefield. Cassina liked the Battle Gods Championship contest, she liked the starry sky chessboard too. Therefore, she planned to propose to Cassina after she defeated Cassina in the game. The entire competition hadn't finished, she still had a chance to meet Cassina in this round-robin tournament. She wouldn't be careless at that time. She would get revenge, she would prove herself. Cassina, wait for me. I will come back soon. After firmly remembering Cassina's appearance in her heart, Orfina finally disappeared from the chessboard. Yunshi let out a sigh of relief. I'm really tired. This was the most tiring game Yunshi had ever played. The golden red bird opened its wings on the star map, then turned into countless light points and disappeared. Before its figure completely disappeared, it also glanced at Yunshi with a strange look. However, Yunshi didn't notice it. Something isn't right. Mayer found the problem behind it. When the golden mythical bird was summoned, she felt that the steel of the heavens had the sign of being activated. Something just leaked out from the steel of the heavens. I saw nothing. I saw nothing. I saw nothing. Mayer sensed a fatal danger. Compared to her, the thing leaked out from the steel of the heavens was a real disaster. Master, what did you put into the steel of the heavens in your past life? When the result of the game between Orfina and Yunshi was published, a lot of engineers in the Mechanist God's domain stopped cheering. Orfina was defeated. Who did it? A cloud in the sky. Who is this newbie? I didn't hear anything about this name before. Record of the game. Black Mage, Orfina, this newbie is strong. He won't be a problem. Our alpha is invincible. Resistance is futile. Hail to our alpha. In the God Crystal, countless data were flowing through Alpha's pupils. She was observing the record of a cloud in the sky. She wouldn't rest too long. Soon after, she would put herself into another game, proving herself on this battlefield of wisdom. Victory! 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 Cyber Elf Alpha kept winning. 42 victories in a row, 43 victories in a row, 44 victories in a row. When most Star Go players had only played 5 turns, she had achieved 60 successive victories, which only Norn the God of Wisdom had achieved before. After Norn the God of Wisdom, the second 6-star points chess player was just born, and this wasn't the end of her victory. Compared to her, Yunshi was leisurely playing with one chess player after another. The level of everyone isn't high, after observing all the chess players he had met, he found a surprising fact that Orfina was already the strongest chess player. After the game with Orfina, he only met several 4-star points chess player, but none of them had 5-star points. Most chess players had only 3-star points and even only 2-star points. Their star go strengths weren't even stronger than Maha Mystery. No wonder that teacher Cassina had confidence in me. They are just a group of rookies. When Cyber Elf Alpha achieved 60 successive victories, Yunshi just obtained 2-star points. His rank also ascended into the list of top 100. When Yunshi thought that he could achieve his goal easily, the strongest opponent finally appeared. The God of Wisdom. Yunshi looked at the code name of his opponent and the 6-star points above the opponent's head in surprise. It's an elite, no, the strongest star Go player I have ever met. The true identities of Norn the God of Wisdom were the 3 goddesses, and they were observing Yunshi in the caduceus. After being defeated by Cyber Elf Alpha, they achieved successive victories easily as usual. Till now, their record was 37 victories and 1 failure. Norn was still one of the overlords on the Starry Sky chessboard. 27 victories in a row. Board surprisingly looked at this newbie's code name, A Cloud in the Sky. It's tough, are the newbies this time all very strong? Verdandi frowned, remembering the 2 newbies they met before. Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power was incredibly strong, and the game with the Sacred Monk, Maha Mystery, also consumed a lot of their energies. If only considering computing power, Maha Mystery wasn't inferior to the 3 goddesses. The newbies this time are all monsters. I don't want to be a crow mouth, but sisters, I have a bad feeling this time, Skuld said after she observed the future, which greatly increased Yunshi's level of danger again. After being defeated by Cyber Elf Alpha and having an arduous game with Maha Mystery, the 3 goddesses stepped up their vigilance toward all the newbies. Moreover, this newbie had achieved 27 victories in a row. Before the game started, the 3 goddesses had launched their abilities, observing A Cloud in the Sky, from past, present and future together. He has defeated Maha Mystery, Black Mage, and Orfina. Ord the goddess of past said. His journey is still ongoing. He will dance like an invincible battle god. Verdandi the goddess of present said. His heart is as wide as the world. No matter how many ships he has stepped foot on, he will keep going. Skuld the goddess of future said. The 3 goddesses looked surprised at the same time. He defeated Orfina. Orfina the Ruby Dragon's computing power and understanding about Stargo was far stronger than their avatar, Norn the God of Wisdom. If she could be more careful when playing, even though the 3 goddesses could predict the future, they wouldn't be able to defeat Orfina easily. Orfina was actually the strongest Stargo player, the 3 goddesses could defeat her simply because they had the cheat-like predictive power. Apart from Norn the God of Wisdom and Black Mage, no one was sure that they could withstand Orfina's fierce attack. Was she tricked? Most of the time, Orfina didn't pay too much attention to her opponent's tricks and was tricked easily. If she would be more careful, she wouldn't have only obtained 5-star points. In the minds of the 3 goddesses, Orfina was the only one who had the chance to obtain 6-star points or higher achievement. If she optimized her attack and defense on the chessboard to her best, it was even possible for her to obtain 8-star points. Oh, Orfina's character is still imprudent. If she stopped being so reckless, she would have achieved 6-star points 1,000 years ago. Verdandi had imagined the game happened between A Cloud in the Sky and the Ruby Princess, just now. She must have fallen into his traps easily before. We won't lose this time. Skuld waved her fists and looked at their opponent with a fierce look on her face. Skuld is right. We won't make the same mistake again. Ord touched her silver hair and said in an excited tone. For the sake of Skuld, we will win. Verdandi also stretched out her hand to her younger sister. Yes, we will crush him in this game. I can't wait for it to happen. Skuld said. The three sisters held each other's hands together tightly. At the same time, Yunshi said to Mayor. Mayor, we need to get serious. Looking at the 6 star points above his opponent's head, Yunshi also got excited. It's a 6 star point chess player. 6 star points. The strongest opponent before I can face the more terrible 7 star points, 8 star points and even 9 star points opponents. I must be careful and shake myself up this time. Oh. Mayor answered casually, kicking the air with her small feet. What was that UST now? What was it? The steel of the heavens had been closed after Master chose me. What was leaked from it just now? She just took a glance at it, and instantly shook in fear. Master, what did you seal in that road in your past life? In the routine to decide who goes first, Yunshi won. He was on the offensive. He immediately put his first chess piece at the familiar place, Tengen. When he put down his chess piece, the three goddesses froze. Tengen! Board exclaimed in surprise. Tengen! Verdandi looked at the chess piece and suddenly felt nervous. Why is it Tengen again? Skuld cried out in alarm. The style of this person is the same as that, Cyber Elf Alpha. Is it a new trend to put the first chess piece onto Tengen? Why don't we know? Did we stay in the mystery place to research the legacy of Twilight too long? Tengen was the center of the starry sky chessboard and the only immovable point on the entire star map. At the same time, it was also the place that could cause the biggest change. Why didn't everyone choose to put their first chess pieces onto Tengen? Because it required a huge amount of computation to calculate the changes it could bring. Just like the center of the universe, Tengen was the start point and the catch point of all changes. Theoretically, Tengen should be a place contested by all strategies, but no one could withstand the computational cost to launch a war around Tengen. Therefore, people subconsciously avoided putting their chess pieces around Tengen to avoid wasting too much effort at the beginning of the game. Even high star points chess players wouldn't be sure that they wouldn't make any mistakes if they launched a battle around Tengen on the chessboard. If they made any mistakes in their calculations, it would be possible for them to be defeated by low star points chess players. If they put their chess pieces on the corners, the computational cost would be greatly reduced. Both of the chess players could show their true star go strength easily around the corners. Golden corner, silver edge, and straw center were the terms of star go that even newbies knew. They were considered the invaluable advice of star go. The battle around the corners was called a formalized series of moves. It was the crystallization of wisdom of countless star go players. The stronger a chess player was, the more careful he would use his computing power. Formalized series of moves was the best method to save the player's computing power. Including Norn the god of wisdom and Orfina the ruby dragon, who were also used to starting from the corners. Even Black Mage didn't dare put his first chess piece onto Tengen but set his traps around the corners. Unless a player's computing power was overwhelming, or the player was teaching the other side how to play, no one would do this. Did he put his chess piece onto the wrong place? Ord looked at the chess piece. Black lights rose from her silver hair. No. Cyber Elf Alpha also did the same thing. There must be a reason. Verdandi shook her head with a serious look. I'd hate to put the first chess piece onto Tengen. Skuld pouted. Black Mage's Sea of Chaos and Orfina's fierce attack were strong, but they were still in the territory the three goddesses were familiar with. The real terror was forever unknown, just like Cyber Elf Alpha's incredible computing power, and the inexplicable Tengen. Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power was hundreds of times stronger than any common legend-ranked being. However, what was the dependence of a cloud in the sky? He put his first chess pieces onto 10 gen without hesitation, as if he had repeated this move countless times. This was also where all the doubt came from for all the Star Go players who met Alpha and Yunxi before. The meaning of putting the first chess piece onto 10 gen would undoubtedly become a heated debate amongst all Star Go players. 10 gen is wrong. Ord chose to trust the rule summarized by the public. It's not a wise option. Verdandi was also sure to everyone that it was inadvisable to put the first chess piece onto 10 gen, apart from Cyber Elf Alpha. How dare he do this? Let's occupy the corners as soon as we can. Skuld was unhappy. Maybe Cyber Elf Alpha did gain some unknown advantage because she put her first chess piece onto 10 gen. However, she didn't defeat Norn the God of Wisdom within 130 rounds. The three goddesses confirmed that putting the first chess piece onto 10 gen wasn't the main reason they were defeated. They just ran out of time. Since a cloud in the sky defeated Urfina, he must be good at playing tricks on the chessboard. This may be one of his tricks. So, we will defeat him using the most straightforward strategy. We will let him realize, if his computing power isn't as strong as Cyber Elf Alpha, he was doing a stupid option. Looking at the move of the God of Wisdom, Yunxi was slightly surprised, because Norn the God of Wisdom just put his chess piece onto the second most stable point on the star map. In Yunxi's eyes, it was the second best choice on the chessboard. The God of Wisdom just did the most suitable option. Undoubtedly, Norn the God of Wisdom was the most excellent opponent Yunxi had ever faced. After 10 rounds, there were a lot of chess pieces on the chessboard. The three goddesses kept choosing the most stable points and didn't leave any loophole for Yunxi. On the other side, Yunxi also put down his chess pieces with pleasure. No wonder that Norn the God of Wisdom is a 6-star points chess player. Only the Ruby Princess is not inferior to him. Moreover, compared to the Ruby Princess, the God of Wisdom was more cautious. Every move of his chess pieces was nearly perfect in Yunxi's eyes. However, Yunxi felt strange as he kept playing. Is Norn the God of Wisdom imitating my style? Is it a mimic Go? Mimic Go was a special style of Star Go. In general, it was totally imitating the other side's style, putting one's chess piece on the corresponding reverse place on the chessboard. In this case, no matter how strong one's opponent was, the chess player could always draw with his opponent. Of course, it wasn't perfect. Its fatal flaw was 10 gen. 10 gen was unique, there was no reverse place for 10 gen on the chessboard, therefore, once one side put his chess piece onto 10 gen, the other side couldn't imitate his moves anymore. Unlike the game of Go, Star Go's map was a changing star map, each star map was different. The possibility of the appearance of the mimic Go was nearly zero, unless both sides of the game had the same understanding about the star map and the orbits of stars. The two Star Go players must be familiar with each other. Something is wrong. What is happening? Ord looked at the chessboard with vigilance. I don't know. Just now, we lost control of our rhythm. Verdandi's fingers trembled and almost put the chess piece onto the wrong place. It's strange. Why can't we control our hands? Skuld almost become frantic. For a while now, no, from the beginning, their moves became strange. Isn't it a matter of nature to put the first chess piece onto one of the corners? The second and third chess pieces also needed to occupy the advantage ground. This was the rule recognized by countless Star Go players. They wouldn't be deceived by any tricks, they wouldn't be affected by any opponent's style. They would always put their chess pieces onto the most stable and safest places, because it was the best option. Just like the web weaved by fate, they gained advantages and defeated their opponents step by step. This strategy never failed. Apart from the game with Alpha, they lost because they ran out of time. They've never lost to anyone from the beginning of the game. Even Orphina couldn't break their shield using her most fierce attack. However, it suddenly lost efficacy now. The style of A Cloud in the Sky was as simple as any newbie. He didn't even know how to set any traps in his chess pieces. However, his moves brought the three goddesses into a mysterious world. They could observe him from past, present, and future. This ability had helped them achieve countless victories and became the only 6-star points chess player, but now, it suddenly became their weakness in front of Yunxi. In the face of Yunxi's style, their resistance was weaker than anyone because of their cheat-like ability. Looking at Yunxi's chess pieces, they felt as if they were looking at the most gorgeous, most shocking web of fate that was being weaved in front of their eyes. They couldn't resist or change the web of fate, because every step of Yunxi's chess pieces stood for the most perfect, most fantastic mystery in the star map. It had nothing to do with computing power. It was a power that was beyond description. Yunxi's chess pieces weaved a web called fate, which was so tempting to the three goddesses that they had no chance to escape. They were not imitating Yunxi's style, but were attracted by Yunxi's chess pieces. They couldn't help but involuntarily respond to the call of fate. The three goddesses of fate could see past, present, and future at the same time, because they were using the power of fate. In the face of this stronger fate, they were as feeble as newborn infants. It wasn't a handicap game and neither a teaching game, they were connecting with each other from a realm in their souls. He is strong, who is he? Ord was the first who couldn't withstand the strong pleasant sensation from her soul. She put her hands on her shoulders and shivered with joy. We are, being attracted, what's this feeling? Verdandi blushed. Her neck was upturned and her breathing was becoming heavy and hot. Whoa! Skuld is becoming a bad child. Even Skuld couldn't escape the shudder of the pleasant sensation. Her face turned red and her eyes became watery, her legs put together tightly. Above the head of their avatar, the one-eyed old man, a pink heart almost popped out. Paw! Yunxi put down another chess piece. It was the first time he felt so joyful when playing. He could feel distinct auras from Norn the god of wisdom every time he put down a chess piece. Sometimes, the aura was as hot as fire, dangerous and alluring. Sometimes, the aura was as soft as water and as fresh as a hanging garden. Sometimes, the aura was as vibrant as a rabbit in the wild in the spring. Oh, this 6-star points chess player is really special. Norn the god of wisdom is just one person, but he showed 3 different styles when playing. In every sense, it was a unique experience to Yunxi. Paw! Yunxi put down his 57th chess piece. Ah! Ord emitted a sound that contained both pain and pleasure. Her body shivered, controlling the avatar of the one-eyed old man to respond to Yunxi's move. Paw! Yunxi put down his 58th chess piece. Oh. Verdandi ground her teeth, trying her best to keep elegant when putting down her chess piece. Paw! Yunxi put down his 59th chess piece. No! Don't come over to me. Skuld really cried. Her hands couldn't help but, uncontrollably they followed the route of Yunxi's chess pieces. It was not a game, they were just the dolls dancing as they followed Yunxi's moves. As for Yunxi, he still knew nothing about this. In his eyes, he only saw the god of wisdom striking back at his chess pieces using the most suitable copying style. Finally, he found a chess player whose understanding of Star Go was at the same level as him. Awesome, he is strong. Mayor, do you see it? This is the 6-star points. Yunxi praised. He felt that they were connected on the chessboard. He didn't need to say anything, as long as he put down his chess piece, the god of wisdom would respond to him following the orbits of stars. For the first time, he realized that Star Go could be played in this manner. No, stop. Looking at the chessboard, Ord felt as if it was swallowing her intellect, making her indulge in the pleasant sensation. Sweat broke out all over her body, spreading an alluring smell into the air. Slowly, her breathing became heavy. As her chest rose and fell, her mind became blank. She couldn't think or remember anything, an instinctive impulse was urging her to do something. As for what the thing was, it was too embarrassing to say. For the first time, she saw such a terrible attack method on the chessboard. She had no strength to resist it. What was it? The game on the chessboard could even affect their true bodies. No, stop, stop. No. I can't stop. It's bad. Sisters, Ord, scold. Wake up. Verdandi tried hard to ignore the strong pleasant sensation in her body, trying to awaken Ord and scold. Unfortunately, she was hardly able to save herself. Scold isn't innocent anymore, I will become a bad child. Theoretically, Scold had the strongest resistance to this allure, but she could also barely withstand it. Her watery eyes looked around blankly, and her toes trembled, curled and loosened from time to time. Paw. 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 Yunshi continuously put down 3 chess pieces. He felt they were the most smooth 3 steps he had ever played. To the 3 goddesses, these 3 chess pieces became the final blow to their bodies. Paw. The first chess piece broke Ord's fragile mental defense. Whoa. Her body bent down, almost slumping on the chessboard. Paw. The second chess piece broke Verdandi's last defense. Her smooth long hair flopped over her shoulders, and in her clenched fist, the nails almost broke the skin in her palms. Her body shivered and announced her failure. Silence was the last resistance she could make. Paw. The third chess piece announced the degeneration of the last line of defense, scold. Ho. I'm broken. I'm broken. Scold didn't know how to hide her true emotion. She felt confused about the strange reaction of her body. Her teeth tightly bit her braid, and her pupils became lost in the shudder of her body. As the only goddess who could observe the future, her soul was far more sensitive than her sisters, which meant that she felt the strongest stimulation from the soul. Her heart was still too innocent, so she couldn't indulge herself in it like Ord, and didn't know how to hide her true feelings in silence like Verdandi. She had no resistance to the pleasant sensations from the deepest side of her soul. After putting down the 3 chess pieces, Yunshi was surprised for a moment, because he felt 3 distinct auras from the god of wisdom. This was the first time he felt 3 auras from one person at the same time. The first aura was passionate and bold, just like scorching lava. It contained the feeling of tyranny and a trace of dark sense. The second aura was warm and soft, as intoxicating as the fragrance from the new flowers under the sun. The third aura was vibrant and curious, it was afraid, but also wanted to get close. No, they were not just 3 distinct auras, they were approaching him. The phenomena reflected onto the chessboard, making the situation on the star map became more chaotic. Yunshi felt as if Norn's chess pieces had vanished. They all became a part of his chess pieces. He is strong. No wonder that Norn the god of wisdom had 6 star points. Yunshi was lost in wonder. He started to imagine how strong the 7 star points, 8 star points, and 9 star points chess players were. However, the Starry Sky chessboard seemed to have a newbie protection mechanism, otherwise, he wouldn't meet so many 1 star point, 2 star points and 3 star points chess players. If this mechanism still worked, he still stood a chance to obtain 100 victories in a row. Even if I can't achieve it this time, I will figure it out the next time. Maybe this is what Teacher Casina wanted to teach me. Don't be complacent after winning, don't be discouraged after being defeated. Even though Star Go is just a simple game, I must be serious. Well, from the situation on the chessboard, I have the upper hand. 10 gen is the key. If I didn't put my first chess piece onto 10 gen, the Mimic Go would be really difficult to deal with. If I didn't win the game of guessing odd and even, maybe I would have lost this time. Paw. Yunshi thought and put down another chess piece. Ah. Board shook with an incredible look on her face. Only she herself knew if it was shyness or relief. Verdandi ground her teeth and lowered her head. She didn't want to let anyone see her emotions this moment. Whoa! Evildoer. Villain. Only Skuld hadn't conceded. She was still trying to resist. Amongst the three goddesses, she was the most aggressive one with a winning mentality. Just like newborn calves are not afraid of tigers, she was also afraid of nothing. Board gave up resistance. Her eyes blankly stared into the air, letting the wave of pain and joy sweep across her soul. Verdandi couldn't speak anything, although she still tried to support Skuld, she had no strength to move. In fact, the truth that she still maintained silence facing the shock in her soul had proved that she had a kind, upright and pure heart. Silence itself was the last support she could offer her younger sister, Skuld. I do not concede. I do not concede. I do not concede. Although she was crying and her hands uncontrollably put the chess pieces onto the chessboard, she still didn't give up. Even if the world had been covered by darkness, she still tried to be the last light to protect her sisters. Paw. Yunshi's 60th chess piece pushed into the souls of the three goddesses, although he himself didn't know it. Whoa! Scoundrel! Don't bully my sisters. Skuld stretched out her hands, trying to stop the evil soul shock. Unfortunately, in the face of the KO of the entire star map, her resistance was negligible. The result of the war had been doomed from the moment the three goddesses cheated on the chessboard using their abilities. They could see the threads of fate, they would be tangled by the web made of the threads of fate. It was the rule of the balance of all things. Skuld's resistance finally failed at the 64th round. The stronger she resisted, the heavier the punishment would become. On the chessboard, her last move became the last straw that broke the camel's back. Yunshi suddenly realized that he had won. The chess pieces of Norn, the god of wisdom, suddenly collapsed into itself as if an invisible hand just wiped them all from the chessboard. Yunshi didn't even form any KO, such as the Sanctuary of Wind or the Sanctuary of Fire. He had won. Originally, the god of wisdom was the strongest opponent he had seen, but he was defeated so quickly and inexplicably. I will never play Star Go with this person. Finally, Ward woke up from the shock in her soul. She pressed the button that stood for conceding. Verdandi still kept silent, because she was afraid that once she opened her mouth, she would groan uncontrollably. We lose. Bad person. He is bullying my sisters. He is our enemy. Skuld cried. It was a crushing defeat that was even worse than the game with Cyber Elf Alpha. At the least, Alpha didn't really defeat them. They just ran out of time. Maybe they didn't just lose the game, but lost more things than could be described by words. Did I win? Yunshi looked at the chessboard in surprise. Suddenly, the god of wisdom made a fatal mistake on the chessboard. The game was suddenly ended even before he realized it. I'm lucky. Was it really a mistake? Yunshi looked up at the god of wisdom, the only 6-star points chess player he had ever met. Let's prophesy for him. I have a bad feeling. Board struggled. She had to admit that this opponent wasn't inferior to Cyber Elf Alpha. They lost to Alpha because of her strong, incredible computing power. However, they didn't know the reason why they were defeated by this person at all. The style of his chess pieces was uncanny. His chess pieces were like the instantiation of fate itself. As Norns, the Sisters of Fate, they had no resistance to it. I agree, Verdandi whispered. The entire game just now was too weird. She sensed the smell of fate too. I don't want to prophesy for him. It must show the worst result. As the one goddess who could see the future, Skuld vented her spleen. Skuld, we can't resist the future, no matter how ridiculous it is. Let's begin to prophesy. At least, we can see the probability of the future from it. Let's do it. As their big sister, Ord represented past, she understood the meaning of future deeper than anyone. Countless heroes and geniuses failed because of a negligible thing in their lives. They thought that they were the masters of their fate, but all of them fell in the pool of blood named fate. Only very few people could rein in on the brink of the precipice and avoid the imminent disasters. If a man wanted to change his fate, he must know what fate was first. The madcap who thought that they were strong enough could never really get rid of their fates. Disappearing in the river of time grudgingly was their doomed fates. Skuld, Verdandi finally recovered. She looked at her younger sister with a gentle look. I know. I cannot be reconciled. Skuld pouted, but she had to admit that her sisters were right. However, she really had a presentiment about the result of the prophecy. She walked in the old desert, coming from the end of the horizon, Erd said. Her light will shine on the Star River, because she is the invincible god of battle, Verdandi said. She will become a god in the future, the seed is waiting for her coming. Skuld said. This prophecy was different with the prophecy before. It sounded as if it wasn't saying the same person. Skuld, say it. Ord and Verdandi realized the problem, and they waited for Skuld's answer after she saw the future. It was the thread of fate, made by combining all the probabilities from past, present, and future. It was the exclusive prophecy of the Sisters of Fate. A cloud in the sky, start the prophecy, Skuld said unwillingly. She won't be our enemy. Listening to this, Ord let out a sigh of relief and Verdandi smiled. At the least, the worst situation wouldn't happen. She will be our friend. Ord and Verdandi were happy about this prophecy, then they froze at the same time. Why did it sound familiar? She will be our sister. Speaking of this, Skuld was also alarmed and panicky. The entire process sounded similar to the prophecy before. As it was already their doomed fate. Sister. Ord repeated it incredulously. How could it be? What is the real identity of a cloud in the sky? She couldn't be a god. Sister. Verdandi also thought in confusion. She didn't understand it at all. She will sleep on the same bed with us, we will. Skuld paused again. She froze with a blank, dull countenance. Why did I see that scene again? What is that bed? It looks like a gorgeous bed made of golden sands, which is so big that it can let 10 people lie on it. Ord, Verdandi, she, and Cyber Elf Alpha are all on the bed. Compared to the prophecy before, this time, this scene was clearer. Apart from them, she saw another person, who should be a cloud in the sky. Her brown skin looked similar to Sister Ord's skin, and she had a pair of slender legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, where did the sixth person come from? Can it be? No. I don't want this hell-like future. Why did sisters and I look as if we have already been accustomed to it? No. It's fake. The prophecy failed. It must point to the wrong future. I don't want it. I don't want it. How can I tell sisters it? Oh. It must be a fake future. It must be an illusion. There are only 5 people on the bed made of golden sands. The 6th person never exists. It will never become true. Skuld covered her mouth and decided to never tell anyone this terrible future. She swore that she would do everything to avoid it. The future she saw wasn't ill-fated, it was just the most likely possibility on the web of fate. Skuld, you can do it. You can stop this future from coming true. In the Mechanist God's domain, the alchemists and engineers who were cheering for Cyber Elf Alpha's victories saw the newest record from the Starry Sky chessboard. Suddenly, they froze and fell into silence. Norn was defeated. He and Orfina the Ruby Dragon were defeated by the same person. What happened? Who is the newbie? He has almost achieved 30 victories in a row. He will become a new 3-star point star Go player. Where are the records of the games he played before? We must analyze them. Gold will shine everywhere. Even though Yunshi himself didn't realize what an achievement he had obtained, the alchemists and engineers in the Mechanist God's domain wouldn't ignore it. Before Cyber Elf Alpha was born, Norn was the recognized strongest chess player. His Star Go style was the most stable. He had rarely lost to chess players whose rank was below 5 star points. It was a lifetime achievement to defeat Norn the God of Wisdom on the Starry Sky chessboard. He may defeat Orfina due to luck, however, the truth that he defeated Norn had proved her true strength. No matter what the reason behind the thing was, his Star Go strength must be in the list of top 5. However, such a strong chess player shouldn't be unknown, but the information on the cloud in the sky showed that he was a total newbie. In the database of Cyber Elf Alpha, only his information was non-existent. Record his games. Build the mathematical models from scratch. Be quick. We don't have much time. Alpha. Recalculate his database model. We need to make as much detail as possible on this newbie. In the God Crystal, the newborn cyber god looked around with curiosity. As the engineers were busy imputing the record of Yunshi's games, a great amount of flowing data appeared in her beautiful pupils. All information about a cloud in the sky was scrapped and started all over again. For the first time, Alpha felt curious about an opponent who she hadn't met. She felt interested in him, she wanted to know how he defeated Norn the God of Wisdom. Even though her computing power was hundreds of times stronger than Norn's, she tried her best but could only defeat Norn by depleting Norn's time. If Norn had the equal computing power, Cyber Elf Alpha thought that her winning rate wouldn't be higher than 50%. Build and calculate a special mathematical model. Code name, Cloud. At the same time, Cyber Elf Alpha met her 47th opponent, whose threat level was only slightly inferior to Norn in her database. Orfina the Ruby Dragon. Cyber Elf Alpha, she has 6 star points. Wait, she defeated Norn the God of Wisdom. Orfina was really surprised. Apart from Norn the God of Wisdom, a new 6 star points chess player was just born. It was really an incredible achievement. Orfina always felt a headache when facing Norn the God of Wisdom. Originally, Norn was weaker than her, but he could always withstand her fierce attacks and reverse the situation on the chessboard at the last moment. Confirm the target, Orfina the Ruby Dragon. Cyber Elf Alpha looked at her opponent with expectations in her eyes. Her core program was built referring to the styles of the 2 strongest chess players, Norn and Orfina. Half of her Star Go style was learned from Norn and Orfina. Learning the advantages of all chess players and increasing her computing power infinitely by using the planet computers, this was the secret of her incredible Star Go strength. In some sense, Orfina the Ruby Dragon was her teacher. She could also perform Orfina's Star Go style. Actually, she could reproduce all the Star Go style she had recorded in her database as long as she needed to use them. She was the culmination of all the advantages of all Star Go players. This was her, the powerful cyber god. Tengen. Just like Norn the god of wisdom, Orphina couldn't help but exclaim when she saw Alpha's first move. Why is it Tengen? Why is Tengen again? Why are you using the same style as my Cassina? Come clean, do you have any relationship with my Cassina? Looking at the same Tengen, Orphina couldn't help but make blind and disorderly conjectures. Tengen, from the record which was just inputted into her database, Cyber Elf Alpha also noticed Yunxi's Star Go style. Amongst all the chess players, only she and the Cloud in the Sky were putting their first chess piece onto Tengen, and they were the only two people who hadn't been defeated by anyone. After the game started, the chess players wouldn't have any time to take a breath. At most, they could only catch their breaths in their opponent's round. However, Cyber Elf Alpha didn't need to worry about this, because she was a cyber god. Her computing power was from the planet quadrant computers in the Mechanist God's domain. Every second and every minute, they would consume countless resources at an astronomical level. It was her fixed route to put the first chess piece onto Tengen. It was her method of pursuing stability. Tengen was the core of the star map. As long as she could occupy this point, any disadvantage would only be temporary. This was the optimum strategy she found after calculating hundreds of millions of times. Although she didn't have the same instinct about stars like Yunxi, she still figured out the best solution, and only her terrible computing power could let her control the situation around Tengen from the beginning of the game. I will put my first chess piece onto Tengen the next time. Orphina ground her teeth. She tried putting her first chess piece onto Tengen before. However, she couldn't withstand the amazing requirement of computing power. She had to give up and started to learn the formalized series of moves on the chessboard to reduce the computational cost. Now, she started to rethink this move again. Maybe it was really a workable strategy. She was defeated by Norn's formalized series of moves many times, so she spent a lot of time studying the formalized series of moves of Star Go. She thought that she may be going in the wrong direction. Paw. 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 Orphina immediately started her fierce attacks. As usual, no matter who her opponent was, she wouldn't give up her style. It was a persistence and faith. She didn't mind being defeated, however, she would never be a coward in the face of anyone, even though it was an opponent who defeated Norn the god of wisdom before. For victory. Commencing attack. In the face of Orphina's fierce attacks, Cyber Elf Alpha chose to strike back. Good. That's right. To Orphina, she really enjoyed this will. Although, she already had realized that she had no chance of winning this game. However, the fact of using my strongest attack to fight against the strong opponent who even defeated Norn the god of wisdom before was a most pleasant thing. Only the strongest could survive. This was the most desirable game Orphina was eager for. The Sanctuary of Fire is completed. A huge fire demon dragon appeared behind Orphina and roared toward the sky, as if it was airing its grievances. At the same time, Cyber Elf Alpha also summoned her fire demon's dragons. 2 fire demon dragons appeared in Alpha's Sanctuary of Fire. Arguably, the winner has already been determined. Fierce storms of fire swept through the entire star map. 3 fire demon dragons roared and bit each other. Although Orphina had only 1 dragon and Alpha had 2 dragons, Orphina's dragon was crazier and stronger. Calculation is wrong. Cyber Elf Alpha looked at Orphina's dragon in surprise. There were wounds and scars of being burned on the body of Orphina's fire demon dragon, as if it was just punished by heaven. However, its aura was stronger. Originally, it was at the same rank as Alpha's 2 fire demon dragons, but it was crazier. Finally, it was killed, but before that, it bit one of Alpha's dragons to death and seriously injured the other dragon. Alpha still achieved victory on the chessboard, however, it was no longer a crushing victory. After the game with Cassina, Orfina's star go strength increased again. It wasn't anything about computing power but other unknown stuff, which could never be obtained by simply increasing one's computing power. This was what Alpha lacked. Instinct, inspiration, courage, they were the intangible variables in the world, which could even change one's doomed fate. If Alpha's computing power wasn't hundreds of times higher than Orfina's, it was hard to say that she would be the final winner. I lost. You are strong. Orfina conceded. However, there were flames burning inside her eyes, which made Alpha feel confused, as if Orfina wasn't the loser and she didn't win the game. However, you will meet a stronger person soon. That cloud is stronger than you. Cyber Elf Alpha kept silent, but she remembered Orfina's words. The strongest target confirmed, a cloud in the sky. Why does the Starry Sky chessboard determine the star points of the chess players by using their records of successive victories? Isn't it a matter of course to defeat the opponents who are weaker than me? If one was lucky, one could avoid meeting all chess players whose star points were more than his own. Although the probability was small, it did exist. Theoretically, it was possible. The time of playing was equal for everyone. As long as the chess player defeated his opponent at top speed, he could immediately start the next turn of the game. If one wanted to fight a quick battle and force a quick decision, he would consume much more of his energies and have a greater chance of making mistakes. Under such a harsh rule, Norn's 60 victories in a row and Orfina's 50 victories in a row all proved their real strengths. No one could obtain star points due to luck. Once entering the world of 4 star points, the Starry Sky chessboard would become a real cruel battlefield. There was actually no newbie protection mechanism on the Starry Sky chessboard, so it was possible for any newbie to meet Norn the God of Wisdom in their first turn and meet Orfina the Ruby Dragon in the second turn. All 4 and 5 star points chess players were real insurmountable hurdles. Newbies could only pray not to meet them, not mention to defeat them. Throughout the history of the Starry Sky chessboard, only a handful of newbies could achieve 20 victories in a row. However, the newbies this time were doomed to shock the entire world. The first was Maha Mystery, the secret weapon of Buddhism. After being defeated by Yun Shi, he easily achieved 20 successive victories, then was defeated by Norn the God of Wisdom. The next was Hero of Might, the unknown chess player from the Dragon Tower. He also achieved 20 successive victories, then was defeated by Orfina. The last 2 newbies hadn't been defeated by anyone, their performances made everyone who was paying attention to this game feel interested. A cloud in the sky, a newbie from the Sky Tower. His identity is unknown, his race is unknown, and his gender is unknown. He had achieved 32 successive victories till now. Unfortunately, he was the strongest newbie in the history of the Sky Tower, a sparkling new 3 star points chess player. Cyber Elf Alpha was even more like a monster than a cloud in the sky. When most chess players had only played 40 turns of the game, she had achieved 72 victories in a row, which was unprecedented in the history of the Starry Sky chessboard. The more amazing thing was that her battle record was still updating. No one could escape from the fate of being butchered when facing Alpha. Even Norn the God of Wisdom and Orfina the Ruby Dragon were defeated by her easily. Suddenly, Cyber Elf Alpha became the focus of all legend-ranked beings who were concentrating on this game. Cyber Elf Alpha, it sounds like a code name of an elf. Is she really a strong Star Go player from the elf race? It's possible. After all, I wouldn't feel surprised to see any genius from the elf race. However, Norn the God of Wisdom has been defeated 2 times. That's really incredible. Orfina also lost 2 times. This time, the Starry Sky chessboard will really be changed. None of the 4 newbies are easy to deal with. They are monsters. 2 2-star points, a 3-star points and a 7-star points. Am I dreaming? Can the two newbies have some kind of relationship? The two newbies defeated all the old overlords of the Starry Sky chessboard, Norn and Orfina. The traces of their rises were so similar, it was hard to believe that they had no relationship. Their special star go style, putting the first chess piece onto Tengen, became the focus of everyone. Each star map was unique. If one didn't see the star map, it was impossible to deduce and reproduce of any turn of star go on the Starry Sky chessboard. Even if they could see the composition of star go, most people wouldn't understand the moves of either side of the chess players. This was one of the reasons why star go was the highest masterpiece of wisdom in the endless gods' domains. A chess manual was just a kind of reference. Even Alpha could only extract the style of the chess players from the records of their moves, but she couldn't reproduce the same composition of star go again. Nothing was impossible on the Starry Sky chessboard, this was the charm of star go. Gradually, everyone changed their topics to the duel, which was fated to happen in the not-too-distant future. Cyber-Elf Alpha versus a cloud in the sky. Neither of them had been defeated by anyone, which meant that it was only possible for them to defeat each other. Although the duel between them hadn't appeared, it was predestined to be a classic that would be recorded in the history of the Starry Sky chessboard. Everyone was waiting for the coming duel. Most people thought that Cyber-Elf Alpha would be the ultimate winner. It was a matter of course, because the computing power Alpha had shown was incredible. Everyone could imagine how strong she was by looking at her battle record. On the contrary, although a cloud in the sky also defeated Norn and Orfina, no one understood how he defeated Norn and Orfina even after studying all the records of his moves. Especially the game between him and Norn, it looked as if they were two newbies who played Mimic Go, then Norn made a fatal mistake that only a newbie would make. Even so, no one doubted the true strength of a cloud in the sky. After all, he did achieve 3 star points. It was an unarguable truth. If Cyber-Elf Alpha hadn't come, he would be the biggest black horse. Finally, the 73th game of Cyber-Elf Alpha and the 33th game of a cloud in the sky, they met each other on the chessboard. Oops, Golden Legendary, no, a 7-star points chess player. Looking at the star points above Alpha's head, Yunshi was really shocked. The mysterious legacy the elves brought was God Crystal. According to the words of the elves, God Crystal was a legacy of the era of gods. Its special properties couldn't be explained by science. It was both real and virtual, it could be touched but didn't have weight. Anyone could see it with their eyes, but it wouldn't offer any information to any detecting instruments, as if it was just a phantom image. Even a god tried to destroy the God Crystal, but returned without accomplishing anything. The God Crystal wouldn't react to any outside attacks, it just stood there, as if it was waiting for something, also looked like it was sleeping. If it wasn't because after inputting great amounts of data into it, the God Crystal would give a weak response, even elves wouldn't associate it with the planet quadrant computers in the Mechanist God's domain. The God Crystal was both real and virtual and could have infinite data written into it. It perfectly met the requirements of building the final fantasy of the Mechanist God's domain. The method the elves used to move it into the Mechanist God's domain was simple. A lot of legendary ranked elves worked together, moving the entire planet the God Crystal was located on into the Mechanist God's domain. This planet, where the God Crystal slept, was the origin and the core of the Alpha plan. By using the secret magic of the elf race, people could input data into the God Crystal. After connecting it into the network of the planet quadrant computers, Alpha was born. Alpha was the only god and belief of the Mechanist God's domain. For her birth, the Mechanist God's domain specially built hundreds of planet quadrant computers. They were all Alpha subsets. Only Alpha could unify so many planet quadrant computers together. After defeating Norn the god of wisdom and Urfina the ruby dragon, everyone believed that the era of Cyber Elf Alpha had come, the era of the Mechanist god's domain had come. Science was still the truth of all things, the best tool to explain everything in the world. With Cyber Elf Alpha, the Mechanist god's domain would become a legend in the endless god's domains. The birth of Alpha meant that even mortals could create real miracles. Of course, more or less, the engineers ignored the god crystal's unscientific properties. And the several elves, who lived from the beginning of the Alpha plan till this day Cyber Elf Alpha was really born, were the real creators of Alpha. Elves had beautiful faces and perfect bodies, even the river of time didn't leave too many traces on their bodies, but the wisdom and vicissitudes in their beautiful eyes still proved everything. Well, I didn't expect that the final opponent wouldn't be Norn the god of wisdom. Is the final opponent from the Sky Tower in the Eastern God's domain? We shouldn't underestimate the Sky Tower. At any rate, it was the strongest tower. Fortunately, their West Queen is busy with creating new fantastic creatures, otherwise, the ranking of the Sky Tower won't drop to the bottom. Humph, no matter who the opponent is, our Alpha is the strongest. As the favorite of the world, elves firmly believed in Alpha. She was a god who was born from the legacy of the old time. She was a cyber god that stood for the dawn of a new era. Combining the power of God with the power of science, she was the most beautiful creation in the world. She was a truth that could even give the bright elves hope. In order to see her birth, the humans in the Mechanist god's domain had almost invested all the resources in their entire god's domain, and the elves offered their long lives as a tribute. They personally experienced the entire progress. No one would know Alpha better than them. As long as there were more and more planet quadrant computers, Alpha's computing power would be literally infinite. The god crystal was both existent and non-existent. It could turn all fantasies into a reality. According to the investigation of the elves, the god crystal could reveal distinct properties. If people worshipped it as an evil god, the darkest and deepest abyss would be born from it. On the contrary, if kind people prayed to it with hope and light in their heart, the master of glory and holiness would be born from it. The god crystal was a legacy from the era of the gods. Essentially, it was a combination of endless god soul shards. It was the initial form of a god. If inputting countless programs and equations into its core, and connecting it with countless planet quadrant computers that were specially made for it, what kind of god would be born from it? It was Alpha, the newborn cyber god. An unprecedented faith about science was born in the endless god's domains. The Starry Sky chessboard was the first place the newborn god chose to announce its coming. Boom boom pow. They were the running sounds of the planet quadrant computers. Clap. Clap. Because the planet quadrant computers were running at full power, on the surfaces of the planets, a great number of thunderstorms were forming. Surrounded by countless thunder and lightning, the newborn god stretched out her hand in the god crystal, putting down her first chess piece on the Starry Sky chessboard. The location was Tengen. In preparation, Kiguan, please wait a moment. After the updates, you need to refresh the page to get the latest updates. In the Sky Tower, on the Starry Sky chessboard. Perform the guess odd or even game. Cyber Elf Alpha 1. In the rule of the game of Go, the player who went first would obtain an absolute advantage, therefore, it was necessary to make some rules to restrict the chess player. However, there wasn't such a rule in the game of Star Go. Sente, or Goat, could only show the difference of different chess players' styles. Orfina the Ruby Dragon liked to attack first. If she couldn't win the guess odd or even game, she would feel gloomy for a while. Norn the god of wisdom didn't mind Sente, or Goat. If he used Goat, his winning rate would be higher. As for Yun Shi, because his winning rate was still 100% till now, it really wasn't a problem for him. Similarly, Cyber Elf Alpha didn't mind it either. At any rate, she would be the winner. Their duel was being considered by countless legend-ranked beings. It would determine the strongest Star Go player. The number of people who were concentrating on their duel was in the hundreds of millions. Legend rank stood for the highest will of a god domain. As the stage of the highest wisdom in the endless gods' domains, their duel was destined to be recorded and eulogized. Most people thought that Alpha would be the person who laughed last. After all, she had achieved the unprecedented 7 star points. Although A Cloud in the Sky also gave an incredible performance in the games before, his style wasn't as intimidating as Alpha's. It was difficult to make up your mind to put up stakes on his side. Just as the alchemists and engineers of the Mechanist Gods domain expected, Cyber Elf Alpha's performance shocked the entire Endless Gods domains. Tengen. Yunshi was surprised. Cyber Elf Alpha was the first 7 star points chess player he had ever met. No wonder that she was the strongest chess player till now. She understands the importance of Tengen. Maybe it will be a tough battle. No, I'll not be surprised if I lose this time. Teacher Cassina, maybe I can't achieve 100 victories in a row in this game. Yunshi sighed and looked at the chessboard, putting his first chess piece nearby Tengen. Cyber Elf Alpha, she is really tough. In the Mechanist Gods domain, when Yunshi put down his first chess piece, Alpha suddenly trembled. Countless data flows flashed through her pupils. Alpha requires additional computing power. What? The game just began. What is happening? Don't ask, just do it. Be quick. Understood. Launch the 15th and 16th Planet Quadrant computers. Start synchronizing the data. Preheating the engines of the 17th and 18th Planet computers, unlock their dormant states. Prepare the 19th and 20th Planet computers, perform the first power-on test. Boot all satellites. Alpha's will was absolute to the engineers in the Mechanist Gods domain. Even though they felt strange, they still performed her orders determinately. In a desert star field, one huge building after another rose to the surfaces of the planets, one solar sail after another opened from their folded forms, and one windmill after another opened their fan-bladed wheels. Hydroelectric power, geothermal power, solar power, wind power, all kinds of automatic power plants ran at full speed. These planet computers could use all kinds of powers as their energy source. This was their special property. Because of these automatic power plants, the computers could calculate even faster than gods. If converting the energy used to boot a planet quadrant computer to money, the number could let a country instantly bankrupt. And there were hundreds of planet quadrant computers. They were all built for one goal. Everything is for the Great Alpha. This is the final fantasy of the past Starship Alliance, the present Mechanist Gods domain. Infinite data started to flow inside Alpha's metallic antennas. Code name, Cloud. Import all the records of the games he has played, and build 130,000 mathematical models for the next 30 rounds. He is used to putting his first chess piece onto Tengen. When he played with Norn the God of Wisdom and Orfina the Ruby Dragon, he obtained Sente and used this method to gain his upper hand advantage. Therefore, if I put my chess piece onto Tengen first, it will effectively reduce his chance of winning. He is good at activating Fire type, Wind type and Mix type KO on the star map. I should pay attention to his moves in case that he repeats the KO he used to defeat Orfina the Ruby Dragon. Decide the place where I should put my second chess piece at. Calculate 10 to the power of 24 possibilities within 3 seconds. Build the new model about his style. Within a second, Cyber Elf Alpha had calculated over hundreds of millions of times. The mathematical models she built this time were 10 times more than what she built when she played with Black Mage and 3 times more than what she built when she played with Norn the God of Wisdom. All these were for determining where she should put her second chess piece at. Paw. Yunshi put down his fourth chess piece and looked at Cyber Elf Alpha in confusion. This 7-star points chess player is different to any chess player he met before. After putting down her first chess piece onto Tengen, her moves became irresolute. Since she had occupied Tengen, Yunshi had to take the second best, putting down his chess pieces around Tengen. It didn't have any special meaning, he was just used to putting his chess pieces in the center of the chessboard. At any rate, Stargo was always an interesting game. To Yunshi, Stargo was just an easy-to-understand game. No matter where he decided to put his chess piece at, he could always feel the mystery of the orbits of stars. Tengen was just the simplest method for winning, it wasn't his only option. Actually, he didn't mind if he put his chess pieces at any place on the board. As long as he played Stargo, he could naturally gain an advantage on the chessboard. Chapter 427, God Match 1, on the Starry Sky chessboard. Cyber Elf Alpha versus A Cloud in the Sky. Alpha looked at the chessboard in silence. The metal antennas on Alpha's head slowly rotated, transmitting all the changes on the star map into her real body in the Mechanist God's domain. At the same time, the calculation calculated by the terrible computing power of the Planet Quadrant computers also transmitted into Cyber Elf Alpha's body. Apart from her, no one could possibly achieve this. Only in the final fantasy of the Mechanist God's domain, the newborn cyber god whose goal at birth was to calculate everything, made it possible for her to withstand the amazing computational costs, and she was far from reaching her limit. In the past, the research of the Mechanist God's domain went in a wrong direction, a blind alley. They continuously built bigger and bigger cores of planet computers, in order to meet the requirements of more and more computing power. Until they built the largest planet computer on the biggest empty planet in the domain, they finally found out that they could do nothing more. All the stars in their domain, apart from fixed stars, even the largest planet had been used to build the largest planet quadrant computer in history. In memory of the origin of the Mechanist God's domain, the planet quadrant computer and the planet was named Star River. However, their proudest achievement in all the history of the Mechanist God's domain also represented a terrible truth: the expansion of the entire Mechanist God's domain had come to an end. Theoretically, there were still a lot of planets in the Mechanist God's domain that could be used to build new planet quadrant computers, and the people here were already used to living on and around the planet computers. The starfield where the Star River was at, was the core of the entire Mechanist God's domain. However, it was impossible to build any bigger planet computers. This truth was even worse than death to the engineers of the Mechanist God's domain. However, they could do nothing about this, because there wasn't any larger planets in the entire domain. For dozens of years, it seemed that there was no road they could move forward on. Until the elves brought the god crystal, then everything changed. For the first time, desperate engineers agreed to cooperate with alchemists. They started to pursue the mystery of gods together. And Cyber Elf Alpha was their final product. With the god crystal as the core, using the rules of science and alchemy, plus the secret magic of elves, their highest masterpiece was born. She was born with the power of dominating all planet quadrant computers. Each planet computer was like a part of her body. With them, she never needed to worry about the upper limit of her computing power, because it was destined to be infinite. If using the life system of the natural world to describe her, she and the planet computers formed a huge banyan tree. Each branch could be independent and complete, but also, they formed a perfect life system when being connected together. In the natural world, the branch of the banyan tree could be stripped and cultivated to be a new banyan tree. One for all for one. The relationship between Cyber Elf Alpha and the planet quadrant computers was like the relationship between a banyan tree and its branches. Alpha could control all of these branches, and help them grow up. Because of her, the final fantasy of the Mechanist God's domain finally came true. She was destined to be the master of all electric equipment. From the moment she was born, the entire Mechanist God's domain was doomed to be changed. Alpha had understood the meaning of her life and was ready to fulfill her mission. She will come. She is destined to come. Her birth stood for the new beginning of the Mechanist God's domain. With the infinite computing power, she could solve all problems in the world. She would be able to predict the fate of the world, the possibility of the appearance of any natural disaster, and even the constitute forms of gods. Her computing power could even become 10,000 times stronger than any legend-ranked being, as long as people built more and more planet quadrant computers for her. My goal is to transcend everything. My future, my wish, is to become an omniscient god. Past, present, future. I will be able to record everything, calculate everything, predict everything. I, Alpha, am invincible. Yes, this was the wild ambition of the Mechanist God's domain, and the result the elves were pursuing. Find the secret of the legend rank and even the gods by using Alpha's infinite computing power. It would become an unprecedented magnificent feat, because no one knew exactly how to become a god. Even Hydra, the favorite fantastic creature of the world, could only become a god due to luck. Only through Alpha was it possible to find the secret of gods by using her computing power. Alpha was the absolute faith of the Mechanist God's domain. Alpha was the ecstasy of the elves who were tired of their long lives and the boring world. Alpha was the strongest weapon of the mortals who wanted to find the secret of gods. Even though they had to use the power of the god crystal, the engineers of the Mechanist God's domain wanted to prove that nothing couldn't be calculated. Chapter 428, God Match 2. Yunxi was the final opponent she needed to defeat. After that, she would achieve a total victory on the Starry Sky chessboard. This was what Cyber Elf Alpha judged. For this purpose, the computing power she used now was beyond the limit of when she played with Norn the God of Wisdom. Apart from that, 3 more planet quadrant computers were supporting her in the Mechanist God's domain. The resource expenditure of the planet computers was costly. Although they could draw the necessary energy of the planets themselves to maintain their running, once they entered full-force calculation mode, they would draw extra energies from the core of the planets, which could cause damage to the environment of the planets. Even though only 1/5 of machine sets were running, the energies they consumed were still massive. The coolant liquids they were using could even fill up an ocean. These coolant liquids were not the products of the planets themselves, but the special products of the Mechanist God's domain. They were specially made for these planet computers. The rule of equivalent exchange was valid in all worlds. Alpha's amazing computing power was building on these planet-level consumption of materials. Cyber Elf Alpha didn't look down on Yunxi at all. She treated him more seriously than even when she played with Norn the God of Wisdom. However, after 10 rounds, Alpha found that some rare logical errors appeared in her counter circuits. It was a really strange and incredible problem to Alpha. For the first time, Cyber Elf Alpha realized that there were bugs in her calculating programs. Code name, Cloud. Model 1 of calculating the winning rate, over 90%. He has made 3 big mistakes till now, which has greatly raised his possibility of failure to 99%. Prediction, I can defeat him after 50 rounds with a great advantage. Model 2 of calculating the winning rate, unknown. I can't predict his next move. His style doesn't meet any models in my database. Prediction, before I make an advanced prediction, I must update my calculation programs and upgrade the mathematical models. The first model was based on Alpha's experience, which was easy to be inferred by all Star Go players. Yunxi's style was easy to understand, it wasn't complicated at all. He didn't use any formalized series of moves or tricks, because no one taught him about these. At first glance, he was just a common newbie. With the amazing analytical ability of her supercomputers, Alpha easily found that he hadn't even understood all the rules of Star Go. Even Alpha would use formalized series of moves to reduce the cost of computing power. However, Yunshi knew nothing about them. He just put down his chess pieces by following his feelings. Most experienced Star Go players, for example, Black Mage, would give a wee smile in the face of such a newbie, then crush his chess pieces on the chessboard using the most fierce attack without mercy. Of course, Black Mage had been taught a painful lesson. He didn't dare to hold such an idea anymore. After calculating, Cyber-Elf Alpha also drew a similar conclusion. In the final analysis, her experience was just a combination of data sets, which could be summed up after calculating. The formalized series of moves of Star Go was a similar thing. It was the basics, the trick, the method that was used to save the player's computing power. Each formalized series of moves was a valuable experience and wealth. It was the weapon saved in Alpha's database. No one was stronger than Alpha when using formalized series of moves. She could crush anyone on the chessboard if anyone wanted to compete with her. Her computing power was so terrible that even Orphina's instinct and Norn's prophecy were inferior to her. No matter what formalized series of moves her opponent was using, Alpha could even predict her opponent's next 10 steps. However, Yunshi didn't understand anything about formalized series of moves, therefore, she could find no method to deal with him from her massive database. Moreover, there was no record about the battle around Tengen in any formalized series of moves. Therefore, errors occurred in her calculation. Her logical loop formed two distinct judgments. The first was that her opponent was just a newbie, victory was already waving its hands at her. The second was distinct. Because there was no record in her database, she could find no method to analyze Yunshi's style and predict his next move. The unknown has appeared. The two distinct judgments put Alpha into a tight spot. It was an overwhelmingly weird phenomenon. If it was a planet computer, it would calculate over and over again in loops, pursuing a result which could never be calculated, because the corresponding data hadn't been inputted into its database. However, Cyber-Elf Alpha wasn't just a cold machine. She was a god born from the god Crystal, the highest wisdom that was controlling all the planet computers. In the face of the unknown logical loop, she chose to pause the game, updating her database first. After the 10 rounds, Cyber-Elf Alpha first stopped playing and started self-checking. In the Mechanist god's domain, engineers held their breaths, looking at their god slowly opening her eyes. 5 minutes, update all data sets, build a new folder specifically for the game style around Tengen. An emotion named seriousness was burned inside this newborn god's crystal-like clear eyes. At that moment, all people felt a special aura, just like the wind sweeping through a tower heralds a rising storm in the mountains. Chapter 429, God Match, 3, She stopped. Yunshi was slightly surprised looking at his opponent. The game of Star Go just became interesting. For the first time, he met a chess player who also put her first chess piece onto Tengen. It was a quite fresh feeling to him. He wasn't the only person who had found the secret of Tengen. Indeed, he was just a newbie and he could find it. There was no way that a 7-star points chess player didn't know it. Compared to his style, the 7-star points chess player's style was aggressive. She attacked him on the chessboard from the beginning. No wonder that she was the strongest chess player he had ever met. Apparently, she was far stronger than the 5-star points Ruby Princess and the 6-star points God of Wisdom. Judging from this, the gap between 6-star points and 7-star points was really wide. Maybe it was as wide as the gap between the strongest hero rank, the 6th rank, and the star point of the legend rank, the 7th rank. Taking her as a reference, the 8-star points and 9-star points chess players must be incredibly strong. I'm just a newbie, why did I meet a 7-star points chess player so early? Did the newbie protection mechanism just lose efficacy? In the Mechanist God's domain. In the God Crystal, for the first time, Alpha didn't ask for more computing power. The formalized series of moves in my database lost efficacy. I need new programs and new computational models. Clear the database, I need to recalculate from zero. Engineers looked at each other with a look of panic. Their Alpha didn't ask for more computing power this time. It was really a fresh experience for them. It was just like a little girl who suddenly didn't want more candies but wanted a rose. They suddenly felt that their daughter just grew up. Yes, it wasn't just their imagination. Cyber Elf Alpha's power was indeed increasing on the battlefield on the Starry Sky chessboard. It wasn't just a simple increase of her computing power. From the game with Black Mage, Alpha understood the advantage of meddling with the situation on the chessboard. Since the game with Norn the God of Wisdom, Alpha understood the perspective of overall situation. And the game with Orphina the Ruby Dragon, Alpha started to try to use the purest power. More or less, she learned a lot of things from each chess player, which was becoming a great benefit to the newborn god. Until Yun Shi appeared. After 10 rounds, Alpha quickly noticed that the unknown, which didn't exist in her database, appeared. His style was as naive as any other newbie's, however, he actually defeated Black Mage, Orphina and Norn. Even Alpha's program judged that there was a big fallacy and logical error. Until their game started, she finally experienced the mystery of Yun Shi's style personally. It wasn't recorded in any chess manual. If one judged his moves using common sense, no one would understand the reason behind his victories. She was almost cheated by his naive style of star go, until the 10th round, an error appeared in her logical loop and activated her automatic measurement system. He isn't a newbie. He is a brand new, unknown field. The alchemists and engineers of the Mechanist God's domain wouldn't refuse any of Alpha's requirements. Clear all the old data. Change the mathematical models. Be quick, we have only 5 minutes. What's wrong with this opponent? Why could he activate the logical errors in Alpha's programs? Upgrade the programs. 10% is done. Collecting all the manpower, material and financial resources in the entire Mechanist God's domain, they finally fulfilled Alpha's requirement within the 5 minutes. After calculating using the newly built mathematical model, Cyber Elf Alpha figured out a new result. My winning probability is only 31%, draw probability is 0, the probability of being is 69%. When they were output onto the screen, all the engineers and alchemists forgot to breathe. What? How can that be possible? The elves exclaimed. As Alpha's creators, they never imagined that Alpha's winning probability was so low. The computing power of a cloud in the sky was even less than 1% of Alpha's computing power. How could he achieve this within 10 rounds? Impossible. The game just started. I must be dreaming. No, we still have a chance. We can reverse the situation. Alpha, increase your computing power. We don't have much time. Before Alpha said anything, the engineers and alchemists had lost their temper. They proactively applied for more computing power for Alpha. Save resource. Optimize computation structure. Reduce energy consumption. It's not the time to be thinking about these. Our Alpha won't lose. How can our Alpha be stopped at this point by a newbie? Understand, keep increasing my computing power. As a cyber god whose life was to respond to the wish of the living beings in the Mechanist God's domain, Alpha clearly felt the enthusiasm in the hearts of the engineers. They were her people. Their will was her will. I, Alpha, won't lose. No matter who the opponent is, I won't lose. The battle just started. I still have a lot of power that can be put into this battle. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.